Kennedy to McMahon, you done it again, and you done it the worst this time. That show sucks. I want my $35 back. I want my 30 years back of pro wrestling fandom, and I want you to stop booking this bull. You screwing your fans, you're screwing me. I'm pissed off. I want my $35. I could have got 5 grande nacho taco meals at Taco Bell, but instead I watched this bull show. Bunch of bull people. We watched the TV half the time. What the is this? Man, stop it. Do something else. Don't want to see this ever again. If I watch WWE one more time, that's going to be the last time I'm done here. It's stupid. I can't believe I got tricked into coming to this show. Stop it. Yo. It's Grapsody with Will, Phil, and Reg, trying to keep it real instead of what you usually get from these talking heads. It's Grapsody, we're here to fill the void. 3 black fans, different perspective, got to fill your voice. Coming with the podcast, talking majors, indies in between. Yeah, it's all that, and we're down with Fightful, better fall back. Coming for respect, we connect like a ball bat. No need to double check, these are all facts. You're listening to us talk raps. You're listening to us talk raps. Will, Phil, and Reg. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps.
It's our anniversary. It's
Do
our anniversary.
You know what today is? Yeah, that was beautiful. What a great way to start the show. And how have things changed since October 11, 2021? We're in a different world. Shout out to Kadeem Hardison and Jasmine Guy and Cree Summer.
Didn't they just do the reunion thing, or has that aired yet?
I don't know if it's aired yet, but they are definitely in the streets promoting it, and they all look great, man. What an amazing time.
Yeah, they were on Breakfast Club, I know, which was a great interview, by the way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Come on, man. Great interview. It felt like I don't know, it's gonna start playing the moments like this way a lifetime.
No, honestly, I put that together and I was just going through the stuff we've done in the last year and just realizing, you saw West Side Gun in that intro. You saw there was Big Swole there. You saw our interviews with you saw us with Carmelo Hayes. You saw our interviews, all the ones we had, Red Velvet and Powerhouse Hobbs, Swerve Strickland, Jade Cargill. We got to be at Blue Wire Studios. Like, we did a lot in this last year. This has been a really dope year, and I'm really just excited to look up and realize that, and of course, Reg a year ago, I had to throw, I was done with the intro, and then I was like, oh my God, I don't even have Reg's rant anywhere in here. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw the whole thing on the beginning.
I mean, that was the starting point. From that point on, that was the Grapsody moment where I was like, all right, we're getting kicked out. I don't know what inspired me to do that rant. I don't know what happened. It just everything felt right. Just like our story to get to Grapsody, that story.
It just felt right.
Yeah. It was just that is what I need to do right now. And that's what's going to kick this off. And it did. We lit.
Yeah, and it did. And no, it's been a really great year. I can't believe it's been a whole year. I mean, look, I have been doing podcasts for 17 years, right? Going on 18, as soon as I hit 2023, that's 18 years of podcast. But I will say that this year has just been an amazing year. I'm so thankful for Grapsody. And there's been some great opportunities that have come out of Grapsody.
Don't say, geez, Louise. I've had some of the craziest moments of my life due to Grapsody. And I was thinking about it. My favorite moments of the last year were Vegas, Texas, and Florida, were, the times we got to really be in the same area, live and shit, see the same shit, got to experience the Briscoes and FTR together as a
trio. We were there.
Trio, and just we had some great times, man. Good times, great memories. All the supporters that we ran into while out at these places, I can't even express how amazing everyone has been for the last year. Not just there in real life, but online. People have come to bat for that tweet yesterday about International Podcast Day, there were people being like, Grapsody, Grapsody, Grapsody. It's amazing to see, y'all.
It's amazing. And I am so grateful. And like, oddly enough, it like doesn't really like inflate the ego in a way. You would think it would, but it's like really humbling in a way. And I appreciate everything. Thank you all. Seriously.
I mean, that's a lie, me saying that it doesn't inflate the ego, because, I'm like, come on.
At least for me.
They're not doing it like you guys. They're not doing it like you. That's Will Washington. He's supposed to be humble. No humbleness over here. Fuck y'all niggas. It's Grapsody. We the greatest of all time. One fucking year, we did all kind of shit. You saw the intro, bro. You see how it goes. Most of those wrestlers wanted to take pictures with us if we flex it on them. It wasn't like we're over here being little Mark boys. We didn't give up no monies, no $60. We didn't give up $160 to get a picture. They was trying to get pictures with your boys because it's your boys. We are your boys. No, I'm just kidding, man. It's been super humbling moment. I've had the AEW video game. I mean, I've cried real tears based off things that came from this show. When Powerhouse Hobbs came out to my song on Dark, like I couldn't hold those tears back. That's real life shit. That's shit that I've wanted for my entire life. And Grapsody is the reason that I got that shit. So I've been in positions that I never even imagined I could be in, just because we wake up on Saturday mornings and talk shit. Like, how could you deny that?
I know, right? And I'm glad I was able to talk you guys into Saturday mornings, by the way, because I know that's like not exactly an ideal time, but honestly, I feel like it's worked out. We get to chill. I love everybody in the chat and getting to be here in the chat, and thank you all in the chat. And yeah, it's. And by the way, you know what else it is? It's October 1st. It's the first of the month.
Spooky season.
Get up.
Spooky season. Yeah, it definitely does feel like a lot of. I'm just thinking all the people to thank before I say anything. It does feel like it's like a long list. Like, I don't know, when you think of just like that last track on a lot of rap records, of just like the thank yous, like the last track on you all right, buddy?
Sorry, I dropped my phone, but yeah,
the last track on Food and Liquor, where Lupe goes through his thank yous, or whatever. Kanye going through this.
The end of College Dropout.
Yeah, went all the way to IKEA, built the bed ourselves. But no, there's a lot of thank yous, man. Like, appreciate you to SRS, of course, for giving us a shot, man. Fightful.com. Man, big appreciations to, man, just everybody that has supported this podcast. Rode Microphones.
Oh my gosh! Shout out to Rose.
Shout out to Rose.
Sound beautiful and fly.
Big shout outs to my guy Emilio Sparks, who before we started this podcast, I was laughing with him last night because he was like, "Yeah, being on your podcast, I don't think people realize like how often we talk." And I'm like, before we even started our podcast, I talked to him about podcasting because guys produce podcasts, and he gave me good advice. He gave me real critiques. He's a real friend, man. And I think there are a lot of people that I think have showed up for us and have been real friends this year. So, yeah, appreciate you. Appreciate anybody that has been a guest on this thing. Andrew.
I was going to say, I'd be remiss to say any thank yous without giving it up to Andrew Thompson, because, of course, none of this would happen.
And I had to make sure I got him in the intro for that.
Of course. None of this would be happening without Andrew Thompson. He's the glue
Andrew Thompson, for sure.
Got Grapsody together.
Man, everybody that's come through and be a guest on our podcast. Captain Sean Dean, appreciate
I didn't get the captain in
Aaron
there.
Black.
I should have. Or Barrett, yeah. Look, I'm going to be honest with everybody. I made that intro less than an hour ago. No, sorry. I started that intro less than an hour ago. I finished it like 5 minutes before the show. And because I had been thinking about it all day, and I'm like, okay, what do I want to get in there? And I was thinking about all the clips and like having to go find them and all that, like, and hunting it down and making sure I got everything. And yeah, I found myself, I hit export in Premiere 9:55 my time. So that would be, and the show starts at 10. So
yeah, and I'm just trying to think of anybody else. Jade, Red Velvet, all the people we've interviewed in the first year. Everybody's come on. The homie Jeff that came on. Candace, Low, anybody that's come on our podcast and supported what we're doing. Of course, our listeners, people that like get on Twitter and just jump on and understand our dumb references and keep stupid jokes going, like the beans thing. Appreciate y'all.
California.
It's
great. No, I love it all. Although we gotta talk about something now. Phil Lindsey.
What Phil did.
I'd say more it's what MJF did because we had talked about this on the show.
So, I forgot that I got involved with the beef too. Now we riding, we riding.
So yeah, I seen a certain guy that's still wearing Burberry scarves in 2022. Like that's a thing. I seen him shooting. I was like, oh, interesting. I didn't know we was doing that. And the way I put it on Twitter afterwards, I was like, why you shooting at me? Why you not shooting at homeboy that had you stretchered out of T-Mobile Arena?
I'm saying. Shooting at the
I ain't did nothing. Your boys happened to be there. I seen it. I seen you get stretchered out. So I seen it. I don't know. Why you mad at me? You should be mad at Warlow, in my opinion. You really mad at me, or are you really mad at the fact that Chicago Punk walked away and probably you won't get that win back, buddy?
Whoa, yeah, we really shooting now. We shooting from that.
I don't know, man. Hey, but it was cute. It was a cute tweet.
Super cute. Super cute. Maxwell's just, how Maxwell does. He's having
it. He's out here. He's having fun.
Man, by the way, too, I thought it was funny this week, man. You're a promo guy, aren't you? You're a talker. How you let Yuta out-talk you, bro?
Oh.
How you let Yuta come into Philadelphia and tell you everything you were going to say before you say it? And then when you fell into the trap and did the Philly fans thing, you tried to say, I got more money than you. Dang. That's it? I thought you was a talker, B.
We heard. Best promo on the biz.
I don't know, man. And then my man pulled up on you and put hands on you.
Hands
I guess you needed the firm in that skybox with you.
Mm-hmm. Got you your sixth match of the. Not even gonna say the year. This is probably your fourth match of the year. You don't really come outside, but now you're coming outside, and we'll see what happens when Will or Yuta gets to put the balls on you.
It's of course all jokes, but
yeah.
I did think that was funny that you kind of lost that promo exchange against you.
Max.
We'll talk about a lot of that. There's a lot of things to talk about today, but let's get into some of these humpers, the super chats, and if you haven't participated in those before, I'm going to let you know how to do it. So first off, if you're right here on our YouTube channel, first thing you got to do, leave us a thumbs up. Just right there. I know you're sitting there. Leave us that thumbs up, and then that's out the way. But if you want to send us a super chat, and please send us those super chats because they really do help support what we do here. They help keep the lights on at Fightful, and they help just support what we do and allow us to do as much of it as we can because we're not just doing this. We're also doing Ask Grapsody every other Thursday. And notice I keep putting emphasis on the K when I say Ask Grapsody because apparently people think I'm saying Ask Grapsody when I say it too fast.
Ask Grapsody?
Yeah, it's like we'll do Ask Grapsody one day. But for now, this is
what does that actually entail?
I don't know. We just talk about booty all day. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I'm all boy.
But this is. But we have Ask Grapsody every other Thursday, and we did.
Damn, you can't get out. They trying to say ass. I'm sure axe is also a thing.
Ask Grapsody. That'll work too.
Grapsody. I mean, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Either way, we need to get there.
Either way, anyway, we need to get there. But there's also. You can leave us the super chats. That's at youtube.com. And then if you want to leave us humper chats, and humper chats, of course, help support us a little bit better because they don't take as big of a cut as YouTube. And you can leave those at any point. You can leave those hours before the show. You can leave them after the show. We'll get to them. So that way if you're not watching live, you can still get your words in. And so we like the Humper Chats. And we got this Humper Chat, for example. This one came 7 hours ago. What was I doing 7 hours ago? Sleeping. But regardless, this came 7 hours ago. This one is from Bill. It says, I know you gents are all Swerve boys, but what would it take for the three of you to wear Scissor Me Daddy t-shirts on the stream? Are you kidding me? I love the Acclaim. I would absolutely. Look, Denise Salcedo's walking around in a Scissor Me Daddy ass shirt. I bought that for her. And I bought that because if anybody recalls the post-Raw show we did a couple months ago, she was all, oh, I don't get it. I don't like Scissor Me Daddy ass. It's not funny, blah, blah, blah. And now she's all like, oh, Scissor Me Daddy ass. I love it. The evolution of humans. You can watch the mind transform over time, opinions erode. For example, I used to think Maximum Male Models was funny. I realized after about 2 weeks that was a one-trick pony and it's dead. But
you
the first...
You didn't like this last night? That one?
I mean, look, it was mildly funny actually, but
No?
I thought it was all right. But so yeah, I don't know. As far as the shirts are concerned,
I'm Swerve. I would never do that to my homie on a TV show here like Grapsody, so I could never. No, I'm just kidding. I would totally wear it, but only on this show for that show. Would never wear it outside.
I would do it at least once.
You think I could?
No,
wear that
I'll tell you
shirt
where I
in
would do it.
Oakland, California. That shirt in Oakland, California. You guys, come on.
I will tell you what.
I mean, actually, I could definitely 100%. That if anywhere, Oakland, California is where I could wear it. That's why I'm not gonna wear it outside.
So my wife is, she hates it. She hates that phrase. She hates the whole thing, and it's not funny. She just cannot stand it. Right. So that's the only reason I haven't bought the shirt for myself, because I know I'm probably like sleeping on the couch if I walk around in that shirt. I don't know if it's, but at the same time, there's a little piece of me that like not only wants to do it, but like if I'm ever feeling petty, like and hanging around like my in-laws, to just like wear it and just wait for the big ask. Oh, I need to wear it to a family reunion or something. That'd be great.
Yeesh.
No, I wouldn't do that. But oddly enough, though, I love the Acclaimed. Everybody loves the Acclaimed.
Yeah, no, we
Everybody
definitely love
loves
the
the
Acclaim.
Acclaim.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
His
No, and honestly,
raps last night were all his bars hit last night. He zoned in.
yeah, no, I'm a big fan of the Acclaim though, and I will say that from a personal standpoint, any wrestler who's ever been like good to my kids always gets extra points from me. And on 2 occasions, Anthony Bowens has really taken the time to bring wrestling to life for my son, and Max Caster has as well. So,
and they're 2 black wrestlers at the end of the day. Like I'm gonna support them no matter what. This is amazing. They're great.
Yes.
Shout out to Bowens, by the way, getting covered by USA Today. That's
that was big.
Big deal.
Well, the Today Show, not USA Today.
Yeah, big deal.
I saw it, but which is interesting because isn't Today's Show that's NBC, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yeah, because I think ABC's like Good Morning America. Maybe.
Yeah, it's the reason I say that, of course, is they're owned by Comcast,
Universe?
who's been in bed with WWE. It's all interesting how much things intertwine like that, because at the end of the day, you should just be covering whatever makes sense to cover. Because I know people were worried about the TMZ relationship. I was worried about it. And that Fox bought TMZ, and TMZ did like immediately drop like the Max Caster raps and all of that, and having like regular AEW features. But there's some stuff you just can't avoid, and when it happens, you still got to talk about it. But now they being so intertwined with Fox, because that's the thing is TMZ up until a year ago was owned by Warner Brothers, and now they are owned by Fox. So their interests have shifted.
Right.
That's part of the reason why I still feel like ultimately news organizations should be kept independent. And I know that from a journalistic standpoint, for the most part, they do operate independently, and usually they'll disclose little things like they'll report on Coca-Cola and then say, before we get into this, Coca-Cola is a participating sponsor in this program, all of those things like that. But I just feel like the moment you start to the corporate interests start to even become questionable, that's when like the news in itself runs into issues. And so I've always had a problem with news being not independently operated, because at some point they do have to answer to their owners, and that's a big problem if they can't report on them. That's Will getting on his soapbox a little bit. Hey, Jennifer, with her weekly love and support, says, thank you for sharing what you choose to share with us. It resonates. Take care of yourselves, gents. We got you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Been a supporter through our entire run at this point. Yeah. We appreciate you every week showing love for the guys.
And I'll say that I recognize it's probably been an issue with, I don't know if it's an issue, it's just me. But as I said earlier, 17-year podcaster. The people who have been listening to me a long time, you know who you are, know this most about me. Will Washington will never be a gimmick, in the sense that I am an open book on my podcast, for better or worse. There's some people who, listening a long time, know some real spicy details about me. But at the end of the day, I'm always just going to be me. I'm always just going to share. I wear myself on my sleeves. I just am 24 hours a day. And on these podcasts, it's the same deal. You're going to know a lot about me in the process of knowing my wrestling opinions. That's just who I am and how I operate. And thank you for letting me do that, because it means a great deal.
That's what's up.
And hey, so D-Lo. What's up, D-Lo? We always love D-Lo Diggs.
Yeah, shout out to D-Lo.
Shout out to D-Lo. Saw him at Black Wrestlers Matter during All Out Weekend.
Oh, that's what's up.
He says, Tony Humper Chat for the anniversary. Mm-hmm. Much love. Thank you guys for the amazing community.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Keep killing them.
And I love this one. This one's from Life of Deem. Life of Deem says...
Another one of the homies. Homies are just back to back today.
Life of Deem says, congratulations on your success with Grapsody. You guys talk about everything I love. My favorite rappers, favorite albums, and wrestlers I enjoy watching. I appreciate the platform you've created, and I wish you all to continue to grow and succeed more.
Thank you. That's amazing. Thanks, Dame. That story that you told me, where was that? Where were we? Orlando. Yeah, the story that you told me in Orlando still sticks in my brain. That's one of the top memories I've had of this year. So shout out to Dean.
Yeah, that was very nice. It was a very nice experience, and just watching Reg through that was a great time. RH says, happy anniversary to the podcasting trios champions, Grapsody. Reg, Phil, and Will, you cats have brought so much joy into my life and others. Thanks. Thank you, RH.
Thank you.
All right. Orion Ben 666 says, California Media Man and Paywall Phil, thank you for a great year. And the scary thing is Grapsody is only just hitting their stride. Big up.
We are absolutely just getting our start.
Big facts.
By the way, in our thank yous, I didn't say thank you to the homies at the Public Enemy podcast, because they had us on early on before we even started. Still have to have those guys on our podcast.
Definitely.
They're dope. Shout out to One Nation as well. I was laughing because Rich said there's a lot of overlap between their listeners and our listeners. And I definitely have realized that there are people that listen to their podcast that come over to our podcast because they shout us out. So big shout out to Rich, man.
Shout out to them.
Shout out to Rich. I love Rich. Yeah. Dante says, happy anniversary. Now all we need is Mariah to drop that secret grunge album she made, and we'll be gold. It's not really a secret.
Tell me a little bit about this. I've never heard about this.
Okay, so yeah, this really happened. So there was a 90s grunge band called Chick, and they had 2 singles. They weren't all that successful. But as it turned out, Chick was actually a side project Mariah Carey had done
Wow.
And she wrote all the songs for the album. She wrote the singles, all of that. And then I guess the label, according to Mariah's book, which is somewhere around here, but the label had told her, "Ooh, no, this is probably not good for your image." Because you're putting out one image and then all of a sudden you're going to go in a completely different direction.
Labels are so annoying.
Right. And so,
like anything, it was Mariah. Anything is going to hit, dude. What are you guys talking about? People are going to love that shit. When she's transformed to Mimi, people love all that. What are you guys talking about?
She put out an album. I mean, so the album was called Someone's Ugly Daughter. It came out in 1995. And yeah, Mariah revealed in her book that she wrote all of that. And then, when Sony had kind of downed on the project and she had recorded everything, she had hired her friend Clarissa Dane to re-record all the vocals. They left Mariah's backup vocals on it, but she re-recorded all the vocals. She became the new lead singer. Clarissa did. She was the one in the videos and all of that. And nobody thought about Chick after that. Like it was a flop. Nobody thought about it. It was gone. Finito. And then when she revealed that in her book, you can almost pinpoint it. If you go look at like the Chick videos on YouTube, the views were like super low up until her book dropped, and all of a sudden they spike all up high. You look at all the comments and they're like, here after reading the Mariah Carey book and finding out that this was her project. So the big reveal a couple days ago is that Mariah revealed that she still has her version of the album, and that she is going to put that out. What she recorded in 95, her grunge album. And that's what it was, her secret grunge album. The songs exist. If you've ever heard Chick, Someone's Ugly Daughter, I've only heard the 2 singles off of it, and I only heard them after I knew it was Mariah. But if you know... But they exist. Those songs have always existed, so it's not really like a secret album. It's not songs you've never heard.
Is she singing in like a different voice, or is it like?
Sure, I mean, it's grungy.
If you go listen to the songs, they sound like grunge music from the 90s. Sounds... Yeah.
I want to hear a Mariah grunge album. That sounds amazing. I mean, I got my red flannel on. I'm already lit for it. Well,
yeah, it definitely doesn't even sound like anything Mariah would have done. That's why nobody tied it to her for 25 years. And then all of a sudden, in her book, where she's like, oh yeah, 25 years ago I wrote that album and originally was the singer on it, whatever.
so it's not like Japanese cartoon where Lupe tried to tell us that, hey, it's this punk rock group that I have nothing to do with, and you listen to the vocals and I'm like, Lupe, this is you doing an English accent. Stop playing with me. Like, I know your voice. This is your voice.
I hear it, Lupe.
I mean, I'm curious what it sounds like. I want to know what the voice sounds like from Mariah, because now I listen to the songs, I'm like, oh, you could tell that's her on the backup vocals, but I want to know what it sounds like with her on the main vocals, and that'll be really interesting. Someone's Ugly Daughter, album by Chick, released in 1995. Again, who the hell knew that until her book, where she revealed, yeah, this was like my thing.
That's dope.
So, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is like Mariah and Sony they had a contentious relationship musically, really, and it came to a head with the song Breakdown, featuring Bone Thugs and Harmony, which is one of my favorite songs of hers, because the label liked Mariah to release songs for white audiences and black audiences. They always liked for her to, whatever song she was releasing, if she was going to do it for a black audience, make sure she had a white version of it. And it was like Honey, right? Like Honey was recorded with Puff and Mace, but the one that played on like MTV was the album version that didn't contain the Lox's verse or Mace's, though it still had him talking about Harlem World, we won't stop. Mm-hmm. But eventually they were like, when she wanted to push Breakdown as a single, they're like, yeah, you can do that, but like you got to come up with a version that doesn't have, the rapper guys on it. And she's like, no, that's the song. Rapper guys. Yeah, it's like, that's the song. It's me and Bone Thugs and Harmony. Like that's okay, but like, you got to have a version without them. And she's like, no, I can't. You can't do this song without Bone Thugs and Harmony. It doesn't work. That's the sound that we made here. And they're like, well, then we don't want it as a single. And she's like, well, I'm pushing it as a single. And she pushed it anyway. And it really only got play on BET. And it really didn't get much radio play at all. And she was frustrated with the label and their lack of ability to get behind the song, because they tried to do the early Mariah Carey thing. And then eventually she was like, no, fuck you guys. I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And she stopped doing that with her songs. And like when Heartbreaker came out, it was just Jay-Z. You were not going to get a version of Heartbreaker without Jay-Z. Song don't work without Jay-Z.
No
You're
way.
not getting it. And that's who she was going forward with. She's like, look, I'm an arm.
You're getting Hove in that tub with that black guy.
Definitely. No doubt about it. Yes.
Yep, I'm so glad you brought that up. Hove in the tub, yeah, with the black eye and the champagne. It's great stuff. Roll Martyr X says, much love to Grapsody boys. Possible new Grapsody merch on the horizon. We got to get some new stuff made.
Yeah, definitely.
I have been working on something. Haven't.
Oh,
shared
okay.
it, but I've been working on something.
Oh, let's go. Yeah, Grapsody boys.
Chicago made Phil over here. Speaking of which,
Out
Chi-Town Spurs says, happy anniversary, guys. The real Chicago Phil cooking MJF more than the man from Lockport.
Yeah, you guys calling him Lockport Phil is hilarious. If people don't know, that's where Punk went to high school. And so people like going on his Wikipedia, I'm assuming, and pulling Lockport out of nowhere. It's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
how far is Lockport from like main Chicago, I guess?
It's not close. It's not close, but it could be. I don't know.
Because like,
I'm not gonna question his nobility in the Chicago.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because like, if somebody asks me, I will say like, "Oh, I'm from Denver," but like, I mean, it takes me like 20 minutes to get to Denver, but it's better than having to then explain where Aurora is in relation to Denver.
Right.
I mean, that's just the thing. I mean, if you live in Cicero, you're not going to say I'm from Cicero. You're going to say I'm from Chicago. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So I guess that's all I'm saying is like, is it a huge deal or is it like a semantics kind of thing?
I have never been to Lockport. Lockport doesn't sound like a place where I belong, and so I've never been there.
There you go.
Okay. Board Dude 630. I was about to say, is that Duda? But because the D is capitalized, but it's Board Dude.
Is that doo-doo?
630 says, shout out to the Mariah Carey man, the cool Phil from Chicago with the same birthday as me and the righteous one, who, how could you have enough words?
Shout out.
Always a blessing for Saturday mornings and occasional Sunday service. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We appreciate
And,
that.
and Heather says, love this one. Just says a simple, I finally get to watch Grapsody live. I love y'all. Reg, I just subscribed to High Spots. What are your favorite PWG matches?
Oh, yes. There's a lot. It's PWG. I saw some of them that I've been like. My favorite live wrestling moment ever at PWG is the return of Super Dragon. And that was a match with
Super Dragon.
Yeah. Young Bucks against Kevin Steen. And who was Steen's partner? Was it a handicap match? Because Super Dragon came to save him. His partner was gone. Watch Tremendous 3 for the ladder match. They just released, I don't know if they just re-released that Battle of Los Angeles 2014, which is one of the craziest shows ever because AJ Styles had the IWGP championship inside of Reseda. We were all just like, can't believe like the history behind that belt, which we could transition to.
Reseda, huh?
Yeah, we could transition a little bit after this with the IWGP thing. He had the history of the IWGP championship just in Reseda, and we're all just like, wow, look at that belt. And it's AJ Styles and all this. But then it's funny because I've been to so many wrestling things, like these things escape my brain. But I remember from that show, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, because people want that match. I'm like, oh, I've seen that match before, but it also had a Kenny Omega versus Speedball Mike Bailey match that I just have zero recollection of. I just cannot remember that in my brain. So I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that. Just run down the line of PWG. Anything you could find, you could go way back in the day, Super Dragon and Scorpio Sky. You can keep it newer than that. There's a lot of great things that Rich Swann and Ricochet were doing together. Watch any Young Bucks match ever. It's PWG, it's Dub, it's Reseda, the greatest of all time. PWG Young Boy, ROH Young Boy. You know what's up.
Mr. Bob Novelina says, "Congratulations, guys." Which, why would you want to be Mr. Bob Novelina? Like, literally, the whole song is talking shit on Bob Novelina. Says, legit, my only 2 wrestling pods are Dad and Grapsody. Love to celebrate Black excellence. Thank you so much. I actually really appreciate that.
Big Will Washington fan. That's what's up.
Van Twinblade says, Max got rolled like that little robot. Philly don't play.
Philly absolutely don't play, man. If you
put a beat on.
No, man, they absolutely don't play out in Philly, for real.
Put a beat on.
Christopher says, should Jamie Hayter be one to defeat Jade Cargill? It'd be a choice. I think that...
It'd be a choice.
No, I mean, I'll say this. I think that Jamie Hayter is... I feel like she is the first truly organically over female that the AEW women's division has had, where the fans are choosing her. It wasn't necessarily somebody that the company had chosen, and now they have the opportunity to run with it. There hasn't really been anything like that in the women's division, and somebody wrote into Day After Dynamite this past week, and sorry if I forgot who said it, but they said, could they be... Oh, no, that was to Ask Grapsody, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Sorry, I do both shows the same day. So I do them within an hour of each other. So, right. But it was asking about whether or not she could be the next Becky Lynch. That's what it was.
Right. Yeah,
and,
that was Ask Grapsody.
Yeah, that was Ask Grapsody. Yeah. So I still remember where it was, because I was like, who did I have the conversation with? It was you guys. It wasn't with Professor Nick Harrison.
Did you see that Willow sign last night?
Yes, I did. Oh my God, the revolution is happening. It's spreading like wildfire. Everybody wants to see Willow be the one to beat Jade Cargill. As a matter of fact, not only do I want to see that be the case of where it finally happens, I don't think she should get her actual All Elite graphic until then. Now, she is under some kind of deal with AEW. They're releasing merch of hers that has the AEW logo on it, and I can tell you that they typically don't do that with people who aren't under a contract. Right. So she's already under some kind of deal. I
think with Jamie Hayter, the issue that they have is her trajectory is to defeat Toni Storm, and the problem is that Thunder Rosa is the champion. So it's like they're gonna have to do something.
My God,
her and Toni Storm have been going back and forth ever since Toni Storm's gotten to the company. Like they've been building towards this, and so if she beats Toni Storm, but then she has to beat Thunder Rosa too. So I don't know. But Willow should be winning over there, maybe against Jade.
They've been doing interim champions pretty much all year. It actually started at the beginning of the year, and we've seen interim champions across multiple belts. But the one thing they haven't done is change an interim belt yet. Like, we haven't really addressed what happens in that case of somebody defeats the interim champion, but the lineal champion is still the champion. What do we do? The hard thing is, and I feel really bad because, it's Thunder Rosa, right? But, like, they've kind of moved full speed ahead without her.
That's the thing.
And, like, I feel like Jamie Hayter, or not Jamie Hayter, I feel like Toni Storm is already having kind of the run that people have been asking for from the women's division. The run where somebody is consistently on TV and getting decisive wins and looking good and strong. She's having that run right now. And she's not even the lineal champion right now. So that's tough.
So something's going on with Willow because she was in that segment. So
right.
And I got the question again. Thank you, Bianca, asking, Will, what do you think of the news of Mariah Carey's secret grunge album possibly getting released? Keep up the work, you guys. I just answered all that, but I think it'll be fun. I'm excited for it.
It's gonna be super fun. I'm excited for it, and I'm not Mariah Carey super fan. I just think that's dope, and I love grunge, so I'm into it.
Let's see. Tina Key says, happy 1 year to Grapsody. Much love, guys. Demolition Worm says, happy anniversary. Thanks for being my favorite wrestling podcast and introducing me to West Side Gun. Any chance getting him on the podcast soon?
It's up there for me. Like there's nothing in the world that I want more. I'm going to continue to try to make it happen. I think I might have some lanes to get in there, but we're working on it.
Oddly enough, Yeah, we actually do have some great lanes. Like
I'm saying we might,
so,
we might be able to. Let's see.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I know my quality probably just dipped a little bit. I did want to address the fact that yesterday I tweeted about. So there was a story in the Observer.
Oh, you're making headlines.
Yeah. So there was a story in the Observer about Swerve and Keith Lee possibly feuding with Wardlow and Samoa Joe. And I tweeted that wasn't true, and because it's not. But I will say that when I do things like that, I don't mean that to like down on Dave Meltzer or
anybody.
Or anybody in that case. This is just I saw incorrect information. I had the correct information, and so I ran with it. And Dave put out a correction. He did say that he got some misinformation, or I guess misunderstood what he had gotten on that. But yeah, because I know when I said that, I got a bunch of people who were like, "Yeah, fuck Dave Meltzer," and I'm like, "That's not what I'm trying to do here."
Wow.
That's not what this is. Like that's how it always goes, right? And somebody was like, "So you're saying?" And I saw somebody say to me, they were like, "So are you saying that the Wrestling Observer newsletter lied?" And I was like, I don't like to use the word lie because I feel like lying requires intent. And I don't feel like there was intent there. So I am not one to just call somebody a liar who's not intending to deceive or there's no malintent with
like
it.
That's not like really, can't consider that lying.
Yeah.
Because it's not really what that was also. It's crazy on both sides.
So the funny thing about this, I didn't notice any of this. The funniest thing I noticed with Meltzer, first of all, the fact he has a profile picture is just throws me off.
I can't get it. I can't get to
it. But Denise posted like her, like she's been with the Observer for 2 years, and she had all of her pictures. And that picture with Dave standing in the middle, and it looks like Dave doesn't know what to do with his hands, so he just like kind of has them out and like flexed and balled up in the fist. I'm like, Dave, what are you doing? Because I'm stupid, I laughed at this picture for a good 5 minutes. I was like, what is man doing?
He's like, there's not a pencil or a computer in my hand. I don't know how to use them when I'm stepping up.
Oddly enough, for all the times I've met Dave, I only have one picture with Dave, and it was a pandemic era picture, so we're both in masks, and like posting that now is like, I don't know. It, like even looking at them, like, can you even tell who these two people are? Why are these two people in masks just like posing together? So I don't know. But no, that wasn't.
We don't hate.
Yeah, no, I don't hate on most anybody unless they're like a fucking asshole.
Some people are intent. When we're talking about the lying thing, some of these people out here are just straight up lying.
It's absolutely some liars out here. It's some big time liars.
There's some people who are absolutely intending on doing so, but that wasn't what I got from that. I got that as a misunderstanding of information. I think he saw that Swerve and Keith and Wardlow and Samoa Joe were supposed to be on the show and weren't, and that there were plans for them all, and thought that the plans for them all meant that there were plans for them all together, not individually. And that's really what it was. Because there were. That was really what it came down to with this past week's Dynamite, that there was supposed to be some Swerve content on the show. Although, shout out to still getting the Rolling Loud footage on Rampage last night.
That was dope.
Yeah, that was still really cool to get to see that. But yeah, they were intending on using Swerve and Keith on the show as a follow-up to them losing the titles. And it's all just going to be pushed a week, and that's okay. And then, yeah.
They showed that on a wrestling show. I love my life. That Rolling Loud footage, like we shouldn't be seeing that on a wrestling program, quote unquote. We totally should. I'm just so happy that we exist in this space, man.
I definitely got people when I was saying that's a nice full circle moment for Swerve. I got someone trying to say they stole WWE's idea, and I'm like,
get the
go away.
Yeah, man.
Like, I mean, that's not. And actually, I do want to address what Heather's asking here, because she just followed up on on this. I am going to take this question because I do want to answer it, even though this is more of an Ask Grapsody question, but that's okay. And she asks, Will, speaking of the Dave correction, and you certainly don't need to answer this if it's uncomfortable, do you ever get annoyed by people discounting your journalistic skills as just being Swerve's cousin? Funny thing is, I didn't get that from Swerve. You know that. You guys know that. I didn't get any of that from him. But I will never consider myself a journalist. I won't. That's just not what...
I was calling myself that for a while, but I stopped because what I do is not journalism. I'm not like, there's a war, I'm going to Iraq. I'm like interviewing some people and writing about it. That's it.
Yeah, wouldn't consider myself a journalist. And that's not what I went to school for. That's not what my background is in. My background is in communications and video production and audio production. So that's a thing that I will absolutely hang my hat on. But I do my due diligence, right? Like I do make sure that if I'm going to speak on something, I've asked the right questions to the people that I'm going to speak on, that I'm going to speak about, or at least have any relation to the thing I speak about, to make sure that if I am bringing you guys any information, that I did my part to get all of the pieces of it that I can. And if I do happen to come across a piece of it that is in conflict with the information that's already out there, then yeah, I am going to put out a correction of the information that's out there and do my best to just give you guys the information I can. I don't consider myself a journalist because this isn't my full-time job, and this isn't a thing that I do on the regular. Just sometimes I do happen to come across information. Somebody on Reddit was like, he's not really a journalist or a reporter, but he's more of an insider. And I was like, that's a good way to put it, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say that.
That's the best I can, the best title I'd be willing to take on any of that. But thank you, though. I appreciate that.
That word's just thrown around willy-nilly to journalists. That's why I try to say it about me. Like, I write in a wrestling magazine and get paid for it, and I don't consider myself a journalist because it's a different thing. Like, I'm a writer, I'm this and I'm this, but these people are saying that they're they're journalists because they tweet, and that's just not how this shit.
And there are legitimate journalists out there, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, and I'll say this: when CM Punk said, "Who in this room fancies themselves a journalist?" my hand stayed down because I was like, "Nope, I ain't."
Nah, that was definitely one of those. Moments of seeing Gozer and going, "Do you consider yourself a guy?" And I was just like, "No, you got
You a god."
It's a trick question.
When someone asks, "Are you a journalist?" you say yes. Which, by the way, for anybody who saw Ghostbusters Afterlife last year, that was like the biggest markout moment in the theater was when Ray gets asked, "Are you a god?" and everybody looks at him and they're like, and he goes, "Yes." And like the theater lost it because anybody who's seen the original Ghostbusters knows that that's how you're supposed to respond. Thank you, Winston. But anyway, as far as like just being Swerve's cousin, that is how everybody throws it out there. And I was getting that when he was in WWE as well. When I had WWE information, people were like, "Well, you're Swerve's cousin, so that's how you know this WWE thing." And I'm like, man, do you know how well informed NXT people are about what's going on the main roster? Why would you think I knew that from Swerve? That's not to say that Swerve doesn't know this kind of stuff, but sometimes like wrestlers are happy to keep themselves in the dark about stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So you're like, look, I'm here to show up to work. So as far as
I
that's
know,
concerned,
from example, I'll say it out loud. Powerhouse Hobbs, he don't give up nothing. I get zero information from him, nothing at all. He goes to, I'm like, "What about this?" He's like, "I don't know, bro. I didn't see anything." I'm like, "What happened on this day?" I don't know. I was over here. I didn't see. I don't know. Every single time, it never fails. There's never one time where he was like, "Hey, no." He's like, "Nope, didn't see it. I don't know." So look, these relationships, we have these relationships, but they're not based off like for information. They're based off like, that's my friend. And like,
it's such a black man from Cali thing to do too. Hey, was you there? No, I was just there, bro. I'm at the hotel, man. I ain't seen none of that.
That's exactly 100%. Nope, didn't see it.
There will be times though, like there will be times where I will ask a wrestler about something just to get a confirmation, and they'll go, "You usually know better than me, so I'm going to trust that you actually have this."
That's a popular Will Washington one for sure.
That's something that I heard in the last week, and as I was trying to get a confirmation.
You tell me.
Yeah. So that's how it goes sometimes. It's not always just the wrestlers. Now I get that this was one that Swerve was involved in, until immediately everybody was like, oh, well, that's where he must have gotten this. It wasn't. But that's that. Thank you though for the question, because I did want to address that, because I do get that sometimes, and
I see it. He Swerve's cousin. Swerve's cousin said this is sometimes what I'm like,
I see that all the time too, and I'm like, okay. Ferdhausen says, happy anniversary. Happy to see Willow 2 times on AEW in a week's time.
Super cool.
Yes, I'm La Lucha says, happy anniversary to 3 fellas that make us all feel like family. It's like we're on the block chilling with homies every Saturday. Love y'all. Love this space. Love pro wrestling. Thank you, and congrats again. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. We love hearing that. That's why we started this, just so we could be on the stoop, shooting some shit, shooting dice, and drinking Old English.
And never in my life had known English. I don't think I'm missing anything.
You're not at all.
Everybody I know that drank it at one point was like, nah, no.
Don't start.
I mean, I guess just listening to the music I listen to, like I don't drink, right? But of course, OE was just a reference in pretty much everything I listened to growing up. But
that was my mother Mia's drink of choice all my life. Gold cans. I randomly see a gold can just in my brain because she was taking those tall boys down all the time. OE and Newports. She was just black as hell, just being black. Shout out to my mom. She's been off cigarettes for like I think 6-7 years now. She was hard on both of those things. She's off of them. So shout out to Mia, because that's rough. That's a rough shit to just be throwing back Old English and Newports back to back. That's black.
But he's not wrong, because like only people I know who drank Old English and smoked Newports were all black people. So
that's it. That's all.
Yeah. Let's see. Ricardo the Spot Monkey says, congrats on the air. Big love to you guys. And the Glorious One says, do you guys ever see yourselves collaborating with Attitude Era podcast? I need to see Reg or Swerve in the URL ring.
Neither one of us want to be in that ring. I'll tell you that right now. Neither one of us are trying to go battle rap.
Yeah, I would love to. I think it's dope that DNA has a podcast. I think it's cool that more rappers are interested in talking about wrestling. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's like when he started doing that podcast, I'm like, how can I get on there? Like immediately. That was the first thought that I thought. So yeah, definitely.
And Alex Luna says, congrats on 1 year. Started listening while I was in Mexico last year, leading up to Bryan Danielson Hangman. Best wrestling podcast by a mile. I
remember my Hangman shit. I was going
you
hard
were,
on the boy
yeah,
for a
you
while.
were.
Before Punk started going in on my guy, Reg was already up.
Reg was already.
Like, nah.
Look, so I knew Phil. I knew. I see what you're saying.
So I want to talk about the TV from this week, and that's why it's in the title of this episode, because I thought that Monday Night Raw, and it was really, it wasn't bugging me. I was liking it throughout the show, but I couldn't help but notice how it was paced throughout the show, where Raw in my lifetime has never really been a show that's just like back to back to back to back matches, where there's really no break in the match format. Like there were 3 promos in 3 hours, which is insane for Raw. And all 3 promos were tied to matches that either came directly after, or the match that match that came before was followed by a promo. But everything was match. And I was like, this is formatted like Dynamite. And I knew if I tweeted that, I would get some tribalists in my mentions that are like, oh, you're just saying that because Raw is good now, and you can't accept that it's good, so you have to compare it to the other show. I know what you guys are going to say, all right? I'm not stupid. But I was like, no, this is just, I've been watching Raw the entire existence of Raw. I'm older than Raw, so I can at least say that I've been watching it since it aired. I think you could probably count on 2 hands how many episodes of Raw I can't even say that anymore. That used to be true before like pandemic era Raw, and then I missed a lot of those because I couldn't. But I'll say Raw in front of a crowd. That's what we'll say. you could probably count on two hands how many episodes I've missed. I used to know the exact ones I've missed. Now I can't do that anymore. But like I remember on my birthday one year, I definitely missed it. But point being, I've seen a lot of Raw. I've seen Raws that collectively had less than 10 minutes of pro wrestling. And so
Don't remind
it is
me.
definitely hell, I was at a Raw that's considered one of the worst of all time. On Cage Match, it's one of the lowest rated Raws ever. I'm still mad that I spent money on that.
So
But
I started the show with the Raw that was awful. And
Oh,
I said how awful it was.
mine was way worse. This one had Jerry Lawler in the rematch with Michael Cole.
Oh, God.
And that was the one with Hornswoggle being revealed as the anonymous GM.
Yikes.
No, this is like the worst show I've ever been to. It's real bad stuff. But just Raw as a format this week, it was just interesting that a match would end and then they just bring up the match graphic and it's like graphic just comes up saying, and now coming up next we have this match, and my brain immediately went to that's like not
Dynamite.
a thing we see from Raw. That's how Dynamite operates, and that's okay. But I just thought it was interesting because I have heard from people in WWE, and again, this is due diligence things. I have heard from people in WWE, people who are very close to Hunter, who have said Hunter likes Dynamite. Like, don't get that twisted. That is a show he watches. That is a show he is well aware of. That's a show he should be well aware of. Because the one thing you don't want to be as a promoter in wrestling right now is somebody who's unaware. You don't want to be trying to poach MJF in 2024 and not be aware of everything he's done. That you want to be able to talk to MJF as if like, look, we've seen what you did here in this Punk feud. We've seen what you did here with Moxley. We saw what you did here. We've seen all of that stuff. And
Like, how do you know the contract tamper if you haven't seen the show?
Right? Like, you got to be talking to these people, and like that's also how you know who's unhappy, right? You could say, look, you really want to be doing all of that over here. You want to be coming over here, Andrade. But like,
Yo, by the way, Andrade's trolling lately has been incredible. I think it's been amazing. And
people are going to be shocked when he wins next.
and setting up the match with that stipulation, knowing all that stuff is just it's really
Beautiful.
smart.
Yeah.
But
no, but like I said, he's very aware of that show. But I just thought it was interesting this week that like we went in knowing what the main event was, knowing what pretty much the whole card was, except for the only match that wasn't already on the card was from the opener. And I thought Bianca cooked on that show. She was in, I can't even say rare form because she's usually really good. But in this particular case, she was just phenomenal this week.
She's been
right?
on fire.
She was on fire. I thought this whole opening segment was good. I'm, if I may say it respectfully, Bailey looks the best she's like
looks
ever
great.
looked. Bailey looks amazing,
She's
and
amazing.
yeah,
Shout out to Bailey.
shout out Bailey.
we're now I don't know, we're now on Sasha watch now because what I was saying earlier this year, because I was like, oh, I think she's coming back, but now it's like the further you get away, it's like, okay, is she coming back? She's changing the name. I don't know.
I think the Twitter handle thing may have happened a while ago because I
so,
know
too.
that in order to keep your because you can't just change your Twitter handle and keep your check mark,
Right.
your verification, that there's a process to that and that can take a while. And she may have initiated that process before Vince, and then and it just didn't happen to go fully through until that's my theory on that, because I know that can take a while, because if you change your handle while you're verified, you lose your verification,
Right.
and then you have to go back through the process. And I think she tried to go through the process of changing it while verified, and it just took a minute. So because it's going to take a while to turn it back too, if she ever decides to go back to Sasha Banks WWE.
I'm not saying that just changing all of her handles means that she's never coming back. I'm not buying that. I still think there's a possibility that she could come back.
Because you could
But
just
it
change it
does-
back.
But it does raise questions because, I mean, she has not done anything wrestling related in so long at this point. Like, everything she posts is now like photo shoots or out at red carpet events. Like, she's just like, she's almost in Dwayne mode. like a few years ago. Like, nah, y'all can have that over there. I'm chilling. I don't want nothing to do with that.
I know. I can't wait for her to be like, "Hey, Raw fans, MZ here."
Please don't. Actually, please do. That means you get paper. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope it happens. Go for it, Mercedes.
I'm here to talk to you about my brand new movie. It's a romantic comedy starring, I don't know, Michael Ealy or something. I don't fucking know.
Michael Ealy.
Michael Ealy and Sasha Banks. That's it. Well, I see it.
Like, I was just trying to think of who I would see Sasha Banks star alongside.
It's got to be like a generation step be under Michael Ealy that could be in there, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when Michael Ealy showed up on Bel Air, I was like, nah, man. Uncle Phil got to get him up out of here, man. I don't trust nothing about this dude around his wife.
Can't trust Michael
Ealy. Get
especially
this
around
dude
your wife.
up out of here, bro.
You never trust Michael Ealy. You cannot trust him.
Especially around your wife.
You
You cannot trust
get this
Michael
dude
Ealy
up out
around
of
your
here,
wife.
man.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I don't know. That's just what I'm picturing right now.
Michael Ealy slander, man. He didn't deserve this.
No, he's great.
he's great.
Nah, man, nah.
Hey, bringing it back
Not him
full
pulling up on your
circle.
wife.
Yeah, it's bringing it back full circle. He was the love interest in the video "Get Your Number" by Mariah Carey featuring Jermaine Dupri off of the album "Emancipation of Mimi."
Mimi.
So, yeah, my favorite Mariah Carey album. For those who don't know that. Anyway, though.
By the way, we have not thrown out any of our condolences. Rest in peace to Coolio.
Yeah, I
by
was
the
like,
way.
are they gonna come? Like, are we waiting for the condolences? I don't want to.
But there's two we got to throw out. So two big ones.
Two
So I
big
was
ones.
waiting on those, but I mean, Coolio, God, man, my brother, I messaged him and he dropped his phone because, again, you know, the thing I tweeted about losing all of our favorites from our era in their 50s. Like, we're supposed to be watching this generation grow old, and like we're not getting to see that, and that kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's the Gambino line from "We Ain't Them." Man, we can't even make it to 50.
Yeah, no, seriously. But yeah, it's crazy the stranglehold that Coolio had on our culture. I know you can attest to this. Well, I talked about it a little bit on Twitter. There was a point, I've had dreads or braids my entire life. There was a point where I was Coolio to everybody in the world. Like, you got braids, you have this. There's Coolio. That was my life.
I got crisscross.
Okay, yeah.
A
A little bit more light skin, I have to remember. Yeah, you and Michael Ealy. That's why you brought him up.
You and
Michael
Ealy.
There was a time that Coolio was like the biggest rapper in the world, essentially. Like, when Gangsta's Paradise came out, like, he was everywhere.
Most
he was
people
on the
know
Black
that
Station.
entire fresh verse, man.
That's
Come
what
on.
I'm saying. Like, black stations, white stations. You turn on TV.
That was the
Coolio
number
was
one
on
song
that
of '95, and I
Yeah.
tweeted that because that's a significant fact, because that's the first ever hip hop track to become the number one of any given year. And in 1995, the number one song of '95 the entire year, "Gangsta's Paradise," Coolio. And that laid the foundation for that to happen multiple other times, but it never happened before that. Like, honestly, I mean, I said this in the tweet. I was like, 95 was a really good year for black music in general, because when you look at those charts, 94, 93, like 94 is like one of the whitest songs of all time. Number one hit of 94 was "The Sign" by Ace of Base. Think about the shift in American culture to go from 94. Yeah, 94 is "The Sign" by Ace of Base, and 95 is "Gangsta's Paradise" by Coolio. Like, just that 1 year.
Don't get it
shift.
twisted, though. The Sign slaps. Do not get it twisted. Ace of Base does
It
go
does.
off.
What does Marlon Roy call that? White and B, like, or
For reals. But yeah, that's just the significance
classic
right
record.
there. Like, hip hop wasn't that until Coolio did it. So like to lose somebody that did that, all the other great things, Fantastic Voyage, all the things, the Eddie soundtrack, like Coolio.
Fam, at one point, he was the king
all the
of,
way
of,
live.
of soundtrack
Yeah,
records,
man.
bro. Like, man,
He was.
See you
Man,
when
hit
you
him
get
high?
there. Hit him
See,
high. Yeah,
I
hit him high.
haven't been
See you
able
when
to
you get
even
there.
think about "See You When You Get There" since he died. I'm like, if I listen to
I
that
posted
song
it
right now, I
immediately
can't,
after
man.
he
Oh
died.
my
Yeah.
God. Come on.
Yeah.
No, it was like Coolio, especially for kids growing up in that time period, because like look, I should not have been in the third grade talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, but all of us, all around school, were singing something new, right? Like that was the track for us at that time period. And then all of a sudden, he's doing the theme song to Keenan and Kel, which was the perfect way for us to like transition.
Yes.
And
how could we forget about Keenan and Kel? One of the greatest theme songs of all time, any genre, man. Everybody knows that song. That's Coolio.
Yeah, this is Coolio. Like I
rest in peace, man.
Yeah, rest in peace, Coolio.
Damn. Hip hop has just been getting our ass kicked when it comes to our legends. Even up and comers, like hip hop is just getting destroyed when it comes to, if it's not gun violence, it's just being older and existing in a black space of we're not supposed to grow old anyways. And then on top of that, we've been smoking and drinking and touring and eating awful and not checking on our health for so long. So it's just bad out here.
I mean, it's a lot of the lifestyles we were kind of glorifying back then are catching up to a lot of people. And
exactly.
Yeah. It is quite a shame. And I want to see, man, because I want to see a generation of rap artists live to get to do what like Earth, Wind, and Fire got to do, right? Of like touring into their goddamn 70s and 80s and all that shit. Like
they're still doing it.
See. Yeah, that's what I want to see, and I am really sad that doesn't sound like that's gonna get to be the case for a lot of guys.
Fucked up, man. Rest in peace to Coolio. And then our other condolences on the other side.
We talk about hip hop. We talk about hip hop on the show, and we talk about pro wrestling.
Yes,
talk about big hip hop influence. Now we gotta talk about one of the biggest wrestling influences.
You want to talk about influence, like things wouldn't exist if it wasn't for what Antonio Inoki did back in the day. I mean, one of the biggest wrestling companies in the world. He founded it. There would not exist. New Japan Pro Wrestling would not exist if this guy didn't start it. And like, if you want to talk about influence, that's all you have to say. You could just leave it there and you're like, damn, he did that. That's crazy. You don't even have to talk about his career that he had. But on top of that, he was one of the craziest, greatest, shootingest wrestlers of history. I watched some of his clips last night. Him beating Great Antonio's. Oh my God, it's just unbelievable what he would do to people. His match with Vader, one of the most infamous German suplex of all time. Like, we thought that this man was done forever, and he came back and beat Vader's ass. This guy had done so many things for the professional wrestling business. Mixed martial arts wouldn't exist in the form of that we know it right now if it wasn't for what this guy did with Muhammad Ali. Like, how could you can't even put into words your favorite Japanese wrestler right now was directly inspired by what this guy did. Just name one: Okada, Tanahashi, Kenta, Shibata. Name any of them. They all were directly influenced by the things that Antonio Inoki did and instilled in them. So rest in peace to an absolute legend who, like, we talk about things that we talk about are based off what he created.
Yeah. I think that the MMA part is a big to do because MMA in its form in Japan wouldn't be what it was.
Right.
Of course, you wouldn't have things like Inokiism of him trying to bring MMA to New Japan and almost ruining the company.
Yes.
But that also got us things like Shinsuke Nakamura. Like, Nakamura would not be at that company if he did not try to bring MMA guys in. And there's just so many other things that he had an effect on. I mean, even when you look at stuff like the Blackpool Combat Club, that is highly influenced by Inoki. Like, the entire idea of slapping somebody to imbue fighting spirit is from Inoki. So, yeah, man, just a legend and a big influence. I mean, somebody said in the chat, we wouldn't have had the only black IWGP heavyweight champion in Bob Sapp if it wasn't for Inokiism.
There you go. There you go.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, man, the first IWGP champion, and I guess because Cole said on commentary, is he now the only recognized Japanese WWE champion?
Yes.
Only one.
So, yeah, I guess, Yeah, that just was shocking last night too. Because at first I just saw somebody tweet about it, and I was like, "Wait, is he really gone?" And then I looked it up, and I was like, "Wow, all right."
Yeah,
Very
it
sudden.
came. Yahoo Sports Japan dropped the news, and then it just started spreading really quickly. And that's one of the benefits, I suppose, of the Twitter check mark is that I saw it with coming from Yahoo Sports Japan. And it's one of those things, do you ever come across Japanese tweets and like you immediately hit translate tweet just to see what it says? And I saw it come across my tweet, retweeted by multiple people, and I hit it, and I was like, oh no. As soon as I hit the translate tweet, like that's not the words you want to come out of the translate tweet part. And it was shocking. And I guess like, my whole life he's been an older name, right?
Yeah,
but like, I don't know. It's still not something that I guess he just wasn't somebody that I ever pictured being gone. I always think about I always think about his authoritative presence in New Japan, and especially in the last couple of decades, and like just putting a stop to matches and stuff.
That
like
clip
that.
with Sylvester Tagai and Luke Gallows.
Luke Gallows, yeah, and he just like decided to stop the match.
Stop it, bullshit. He was bad.
Yeah, honestly, just one of the most influential names in the history of professional wrestling, and a sad loss for the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, all the MMA boys, Bobby Fish, Matt Riddle, all these guys exist because of what he brought here. So, like, not only in Japanese wrestling, American wrestling, Mexican wrestling, all the wrestlings, he's just one of the most influential people ever. Has to be top 3 wrestling ever. Because,
yeah. I mean, even when you just look at just what young boys are in New Japan and how they all have the same black gear, that's based
the
off
whole
of
system is built off him. Yeah. So amazing. Rest in peace to a absolute legend. No one will ever be able to recreate what he did. So
yeah.
Antonio Inoki, Coolio. It's a crazy week, man.
Crazy week. Matthew Plus asks, speaking of crazy weeks, he says, Reg, what was the outcome of your fire? Heart.
Oh, everybody here got me a new car. Did I ever say? I was pretty sure I said that on this show before, right?
I don't think you ever confirmed.
Oh, yeah. No, everybody on that amazing GoFundMe, everybody being super cool. I got a new car. You guys are amazing. Like, I got that shit like right after it went into the GoFundMe because I can't afford to not drive. So, again, shout out to everybody for being amazing. This platform here helped me get a brand new car. I appreciate everybody. I'd never be able to say how much it meant to me. So, thank you for everybody. Y'all are amazing.
Yep. Shout out Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes too.
Shout out to a couple of the homeboys, TK, Cody Rhodes. Yes. No, that was amazing. I still can't. I still think about him like, what, $11,000 just for like existing and trying to play my part in this little space that we call professional wrestling. Like, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you're back up and running. That's just the greatest stuff. And I'm back up and running, by the way. That my little car mishap from 2 days ago, or what was that, Wednesday? That's been 3 days. Back up and running. $800 later.
Got to be a super dad day today. You got to have a car to move around.
Yeah, because my wife is going downtown for the Oddities Expo, and so I got to handle all the debts.
WWF Oddities?
No. I mean, it's all the shit my wife's into, and that's okay. But
it's how she talks about you when you go to wrestling pay-per-views. He's going
I know, right? It's
Chicago again for
wrestling
this
thing.
wrestling thing.
Yeah.
You know how
so Oddities. It's the Oddities and Curiosities Expo, and you'll find things such as taxidermy and
it's creepy
what else?
over there.
Let's see, odd jewelry, skulls and bones, funeral collectibles, quack medical devices.
What's going on here? What are you saying right now?
Look, I'm telling you, it's the Oddities Expo.
All right.
This is the weirdest Comic-Con
The cool
I've
thing,
heard about.
Cool thing is too. So my best friend is also into all of this stuff, and so they're just gonna go because
you don't want to see stuffed raccoons and like.
I told her to bring me back
a bear skull or something.
I was like, Bring me back something cool.
Bring me back. So what is she gonna bring you?
Fam,
I don't know.
Fam, this dude is gonna show up next week with one of those fucking Davy Crockett hats. Like, yeah,
Not the coon hat with the
no,
tail out the back.
not coon hat. No,
Can't call it that.
Isn't that what it's called? The coon hat.
I don't think that's what it's called.
It's the raccoon hat with the tail out the back.
It's called a coon skin hat. Cap. A coon skin cap. Coon hat.
It's close enough.
I was gonna say something else. I can't say that.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, you know what a coon hat looks like, but
yeah. It's a MAGA hat on a black person.
That's what I was gonna avoid saying.
Yeah. We don't have to avoid that. Gotta let these brothers know.
Wow.
So Mac, shout out Mac. Mac has been around a really long time.
Shout out Mac.
Yeah, when I say that, I mean Mac. I can't think of the earliest time you called into RBR, but correct me if I'm wrong. Was it 2009? And Mac was one of our weekly callers. I don't know if he still calls into the show. If he does, because they're still running. That's great. I remember my old co-host from Now Playing Now, Heidi, told me a story because Mac was working as a bouncer at a club at the time, and so it was like full circle because Mac has supported all my podcasts, and Heidi was just going around New York, and she went to a club, and he took her ID, and she messaged me. She was like, "So weird story," and we had not been doing the show at that point for, I want to say, 7 years. At that point, we had been done doing the show, and she was like, "So I got stopped at the club, and the person working the door at the club recognized me from Now Playing Now back in the day." And I'm like, shut up. And then Matt called in and revealed it was him. And so that was like a really cool full circle story.
That is cool.
But yeah, been around a long time. I always appreciate whenever I see Mac in the chats and in the super chats, all of that. I really appreciate you, Mac. Eloquent says, fantastic voyage is one of my favorite videos of all time.
Such a dope video. Everybody hopping out the trunk, man. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's a great video. Shout out to Eloquent too.
RH says, dead animals and bones, but no scissor me daddy. Okay.
I know. Where's the line, Corey?
Animals ain't did nothing to nobody, man.
Yeah. And Kenneth Love says the coon hat.
I thought that what it's called. Yeah, I don't know. Come on for me.
And then we got a bunch of Humper chats I'm going to get to here shortly. Thank you to everybody who sent in Humper chats. We'll get to those. But going back to Raw for a little bit.
Yeah.
So what I was talking about was how the show really flowed. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought that, because that's my type of show. Mm-hmm. That you give me a show with just great wrestling and great matches, and you tell me that I'm going to get to see AJ Styles just go out there and kill it with Sami Zayn. You tell me that's the thing I'm going to get to see tonight. It's just pro wrestling.
Yeah.
This is cool. You're telling me that I just get to start with Bianca Belair and Io Sky. And one slight negative note. I'm really trying. Io Sky is not working for me as a name. And I need to talk to somebody, I guess, who didn't start with Io Shirai and maybe see if it's clicking for them. But I am really trying, and it is just not hitting. How do you guys feel about it?
It's an inoffensive change. It doesn't bother me that much, but it's one of those things where I felt like she didn't really need to change it. But if it's one of those things where she wants to still own her name,
I'm all in. Yeah,
but I don't know what would stop her from owning her name. I guess because like plenty of people own their name. CM Punk owns his name, and he owned it through his WWE run and all of that. RVD owned Rob Van Dam. Like that happens all the time. Chris Jericho owns Chris Jericho. So I don't know what would have stopped her from using it other than
I don't know. Yeah,
it's just weird that she used it on NXT, and then like the deals are totally different when you get up there. Then right?
Because but like Samoa Joe owns the name Samoa Joe. Like what? I don't understand why she couldn't. And then the other issue I have is I guess it's the problem that Bailey had that first night, right, where she got Dakota. She said Dakota Sky because she got the names confused, and I just feel like it's way too close to the name. They're bringing up in the chat like AJ Styles owns his name. Like there's plenty of people who own their names, and so I don't know. Maybe I need to ask somebody who didn't have any exposure to Io Shirai and see like how's that name for you? How does this click for you? Because I don't know. I'm still struggling with it, especially when I play 2K22 and Io Shirai is still in it, and it's still as Io Shirai.
You know the most controversial name of the year. I'm over it now. Like Gunther is his name now. Like I don't like the Walter. People get offended by Walter still, and I'm like, who cares?
I think the only thing that bugs me about it, like the only thing that bugs me about it, because Gunther's fine. The only thing that bugs me is I don't think Gunther flows as well as Walter did as far as like a chantable name. Yeah. And I think you took away some of his connectability with the crowds. Like I can't see a crowd going Gunther. Like I don't feel like it would.
It sounds like they're not in on the joke with him. That sounds like they're making fun of him.
It sounds like
Gunther, I did not think that's where you were going, by the way, when you were like, I'm trying, because I was sitting there watching and like they were doing the White Rabbit stuff and I was like, this stuff is really cool. I'm sorry. I think the mystery stuff is cool. I think, man, that video of the acapella of White Rabbit playing and like all of the camera phones, it's cool. I'm sorry. I think everything they're doing is really cool.
Like I said, the problem I've always had with Bray Wyatt, and I said this last week, ain't never been the presentation.
Yeah, no, it's great.
The ending. It's the fact that when it's time to start feuding with wrestlers, that's when it sucks. When it's like, okay, let me actually do stuff in the ring with these people. Let me actually have rivalries. That's when it's no good to me. But if he is just a character on screen, like I didn't mind the Firefly Funhouse at first. It was actually fun and cute. And I was like, where is this going? It's kind of eerie. And then it was like, oh, well, now he's squashing Finn Balor and I don't like this.
So what I've learned from all this is if Matt Warner would have came with a QR code to explain, like if there was a secret behind Matt Warner with the QR code, then this would be okay. Like it'd be like, oh, it's okay. You guys are telling us about him, but you're not telling us about him. It's a mystery. Shoot this QR code. Let's all figure this out. We all know who it is, but we also don't know what it is, but we all know who it is. Let's spend all this time telling you about this guy. You know who it is, but you don't know who it is. Tony Khan, that's all I'm saying. Get a QR code for when you introduce Juice Robinson because they don't get it. But if you would have had a QR code,
hilarious.
They would have figured it out.
I know you're joking, but like, it's actually not a bad idea. And what I mean by that is like, what if when a new wrestler is introduced, what if there was just like a QR code that came up like on their on their
this is not the worst idea. I kind of dig what you're saying.
On their Chiron, what if like when their name came up, a little QR code came up and it just takes you to like Road 2 and you just get to see like, hey, here's a little back. That's actually not bad, right? Like people clearly like to be guided by QR codes. Totally. What if you did, if you want to see a little bit more and you need a little bit of an explanation for this, just bring up a little QR code in the corner like, hey, watch this episode of Road 2 real quick. We'll give you everything you need and you're good to go on this show. It's actually not bad.
You know what I would love to do is I would love to appear on people's podcasts and it has like a QR code next to me and people think it's gonna go to this cool thing and they open it and it's like, oh hey. And it's just quiet for like the next 20 seconds. It makes people feel like they wasted their time. Or
can't waste people's time, Phil.
Or if they come on like something and like it's one of those things where I am agitated and it's just a QR code next to me and it goes to something that's just like me just saying, shut up. and then it's sitting there for like a good 10 seconds. It's like, no, seriously, shut up.
I want my
No, honestly, I want somebody to bring the QR code to Dynamite. I figure it's gonna happen, but somebody's just gonna bring one. And it's just like a Rickroll or something. But I figured that's what's coming.
QR code, maybe.
But man, look, I think all of this stuff is great. I think it's cool. I think it's a good way to play off of Bray Wyatt's appeal. I know that people are going to be down on it because, again, when the last time we saw him, some of the stuff was not good. The Alexa stuff was trash. But I do think that there is cool stuff he can do when he comes back. By the looks of it, all the stuff they're referencing, it looks like it's from Cult Leader Bray. So maybe Cult Leader Bray is coming back.
I mean, no matter what, I think he's doing something new. So we'll say.
Either way, I'm interested. I'm interested in whatever he does next.
Yeah.
And shout out FightfulSelect.com for reporting that we get the big reveal at Extreme Rules
Next Saturday.
I mean, I assumed. I pretty much figured they were going to use it to sell a pay-per-view. They've been showing the lantern in the background of the posters.
I like this booking method because Vince would show it on the Raw after Extreme Rules. It's like, why do you build like this? I love the direction that they're going. Everything is making sense. Everything is connecting together. Nothing's unbelievably dumb. So yeah, I'm excited.
I think a lot of the clues are very intricate. I think one of the things
people are breaking them down, boy.
Yes,
I know. I just imagine being the person who puts these clues together, who's like, "Oh, let me make sure to modify the HTML code to put the lyrics to Aleister Black's theme in here, and then make sure to close tag." And the only way you can find that is if you're smart enough to open the page and hit Control U to bring up the HTML behind the page. And like, that's how my brain works because like that's how I was with like Saw movies where there's like all these elaborate traps and I'm like, who just sat around like making sure to set up and like, oh, let's make sure that if he grabs this book here, then his knife is just gonna come down and stab him.
A programmer.
Like who went through all of this trouble?
It's program humor. It's them damn programmers. Like if
and I'm a programmer. I think that's why. I think that's why my brain works this way is because I am a programmer. And I forgot. It's funny because that was how I was introduced by Fightful when all of our backgrounds were given about the announcements of Grapsody, and you were mentioned as Righteous Reg was a writer and a rapper, and Phil writer, and then Will a software developer, and I'm like, oh yeah, we did put that out there, and people were like, do you still software develop? I'm like, yeah, that's actually what I still do for a living. I'm an automation developer now, but but either way, that's just how I operate. That said, still I want to get into Raw. The other things from Raw. The other big things I want to talk about from Raw. Like I said, I thought Bianca and Io had a great match out there. The thing that disappointed me with this Raw more than anything was the crowd. I feel like both the Philly crowd and the where were they this week? Was that Edmonton?
Canada? Yeah, I think it was Edmonton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. But
they were in Winnipeg last night, right? Yeah, I think it was Edmonton.
Yeah. Okay. Was that I feel like neither crowd was prepared for the show they got. And that is and what I mean is like I think the Raw crowd, because that was a massive Raw crowd. They had 12,000 people there who just kind of sat on their hands through these matches.
Right.
And I feel like that's 12,000 people who were, it's like, we didn't come here for matches. This is Monday Night Raw. We came here for promos and angles and things like that. You just gave moments. We spent all this money on wrestling. And then on the other side of it, I felt like the Philly crowd wasn't all that great for Dynamite. And it was like, well, we spent money on Dynamite. We came here for a whole bunch of pro wrestling. And, we got
in-ring promos.
Yeah, we got in-ring promos. And I felt like the shows...
we got a very strange women's segment that I don't know what to make of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'll talk about Dynamite there in a second. I guess the only other things I want to talk about from Raw were, again, like I said, just the pacing of it. Not going to lie. I would love to see that from Raw some more. I know that the Hunter haters, the double H's, I guess, or the quadruple H's, depending on how you want to look at that. They are very much against this. They are hating to see that their Raw is not the Raw that they've loved all these years, that the deeper we get into Monday Night Raw, the less we're seeing, the deeper we're getting into the Hunter era, the less we're seeing of that old era. And I'm like, give me this every
Thank
week,
God.
man.
I've been waiting for so long. And I've been waiting. I'm saying, geez.
This show fucking cooks. Like,
yeah.
Get rid of all of it. Get rid of all of it. Get rid of Shoosh. I'm sorry. Bring back LA Knight. Get it out of here, bro.
Yeah. Nah, I'm not complaining about anything that's being gone. And I did tweet. So, I've been doing those Dear Triple H tweets for the last 3 months, and oddly enough, each one I've tweeted thus far has kind of happened. Only one that hasn't happened yet was I said bring numbers back to WrestleMania, but who knows? We're not at WrestleMania season yet. I swear, if it says WrestleMania 39 this year, I'm gonna celebrate, because the first thing I tweeted, I was like, "Dear Triple H, just don't even bring up the 24/7 title. Don't address it. Literally, it doesn't need to be addressed. Just
throw it away.
Just throw it away." Now, granted, they're still doing it at house shows, a lot. There's been multiple newly crowned 24/7 champions, but none of it's being acknowledged on the history. On the history, it still literally says Dana Brooke is champion, but she'll lose it 10 times on a house show, and then we come back around to it, and it's well, she also got it back, and nobody cares. But he doesn't have to address it. I was like, Hunter, I said, "Dear Triple H, please bring back Matt Riddle's first name, bring back Tommaso Ciampa's first name, bring back Austin Theory's first name." Got all 3 back. Let's go.
Still waiting on this Doudrop change. Piper is her name.
Yeah.
That's her name. Get rid of this Doudrop thing. Get out of here.
Yeah,
well, as you can see on Raw this week, we at least got a clear sign that Nikki ASH is on her way back to whatever she was doing before. It seems like they're dropping the almost a superhero. Well, don't bring back the group, but I guess you can't. But
Triple H kind of liked those guys. Eric Young was very recently I had a great time there. Triple H might be my friend, and Big Damo. I could see him coming back. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I can see Damo coming back.
Yeah,
but I don't see the other two coming back anytime soon, at least.
Yeah, but either way, I think she's going to revert back a little bit, or at least try something new. But I think they know that Nikki ASH isn't working.
Superhero shit's out.
Yeah,
that's out. They never really gave it a chance. So
Nikki as hell is all I've ever seen. It yeah, I'm like, why is her name Nikki as hell? That doesn't make any sense.
That actually would be better. She should just start coming out and calling herself Nikki as hell.
That's her next iteration. I'm into it.
Yeah, I love that. No, I think that her. All right, but either way, the thing I tweeted this week was, "Dear Triple H, get rid of the Velcro belts. They're whack."
I never got. Why did they start doing that 12-year-old belt thing? That was so.
It started in 2019 with Kofi and Becky right after WrestleMania 35. And I guess the reason behind it was they wanted the champions to be able to quickly be able to put the belts on and take them off in a pinch, and also that time period they had a little bit of smaller champions. Kofi was definitely a smaller guy, and it was well, what if we, and snaps only fit so big of a waist, so it was what if we just make it so that it doesn't matter how big somebody's waist is if we just make it Velcro. Yeah. But God, it looks awful, and
so bad.
It looks bad.
Hear it sounds the worst.
And then when EO took the belt off this week, and she pulls it down, and you just hear, and I was like, "Oh man, that was whack." And the thing is, WWE doesn't want the Velcro out there. there's a reason why one side of it is Velcro, but the other side still appears to be snaps, because they still want it to look like snaps. They just want it to function like Velcro. And like, they don't sell Velcro belts. If you buy them off the shop, they're still snaps, because snaps still look better. And I get
listen,
it.
If I pay $700 for a belt and it gets here and it has Velcro on the back, I'm sending that joint back. Like,
Big
what are you doing?
Send my buttons, nigga.
Yeah, like, I don't know. But the thing is, where I was going with this is every single time I tweet something like this, Dear Triple H, change this thing. Yeah, change this thing that sucks, right? I get people in my, like, there's still Vince defenders out there, and they end up all in my mentions like, no, this is actually great. No, Austin Theory just being Theory is actually great. What? No, he should just be Riddle. What's wrong with Ciampa? He could just be Ciampa. What's wrong with that? Like, what are we doing here? I got I really like the 24/7 championship. No, you don't.
You do not.
Don't. And no, the Velcro belts, they're actually great. What are you talking about? They're great for the wrestlers. And I just think, like,
Wow.
like, at some point, like, the reason that I say these things is because I do also recognize that I know how Hunter works. I've watched him enough to know how he operates. And one thing Hunter is really big on is he's a traditionalist. He is a really big traditionalist.
He is.
And he, I think, in the best of ways, wants to celebrate the history of pro wrestling and acknowledge the history of pro wrestling and the way it's been for the longest time. And all of that said, I think that he is, I think a lot of things are going to find itself reverting back to kind of yesteryears as his time goes on as an owner. Or not owner, as the
try
booker.
to do what Bill Corgan does, but better. Because, like, his heroes are like Harley Race and Ric Flair. Like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day. So he's going to still be he's going to try to do our Broadways. He's going to try to do things that, like, inspired him as a youngster, but in a new way. That's what separates him a little bit, is he also understands that we love PWG and we love Ring of Honor and we love these independent stars that can come and do their thing. But he's still going to want to try to stick to what he knew and loved growing up and, impart those things, because he's Triple H. He's a student of the game. Yeah, I brought it around, baby.
Yes. And so on the other side of things, so Raw was really wrestling heavy. Again, we had a great opening promo. The only 3 promos on the show for the opening segment. If I remember correctly, we had a promo that came out of the AJ Styles and Finn Balor not Finn Balor. It was the Finn Balor confronting AJ Styles promo. And then what was the only other? Oh, Seth Rollins had a promo going into his match with Rey Mysterio. That was it. That was it for in-ring promo segments, and all of it was tied to matches. I enjoyed the hell out of that show.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, speaking of Vince remnants that Triple H has fixed, Matt Riddle is so much better when you don't treat him like a joke character, and he can actually show intensity and stuff. He doesn't have to always make these goofy pot jokes. Yeah, much better character.
Much better. It's all been great. I won't say all, but it's been great.
It's been great.
And then there's some stuff on SmackDown that's like very much not hitting.
It's still bad.
But the I'll say it. I'll be honest. I like everybody involved in Hit Row. I don't think anything they're doing is working right now, and I think that they are very close to the fans turning on them hard. And it started with the worst thing you can get, which happened last night, which was like no reaction. And so they came out, they beat Los Latarios, and I just didn't feel like any of that stuff was hitting.
We are keeping it real here. Yeah, look, the only reason that Hit Row was called up because of Swerve. They weren't, as a tag team, I love them. They're amazing. Top Dollar and Ashanti Adonis are not ready to be a tag team. Like, they can't be the tag team champions. They can't carry the division. They're not ready. They still honestly need to be developing in NXT. And that's not a diss to them. That's not anything. That's just like they were given a lot because Swerve was on the trajectory and they were attached to him. So they went, but they should still be down in NXT developing as a tag team. That's all it really is.
Yeah. I think the bigger issue on the whole is that every tag team with the company kind of feels like it's at a standstill other than the Usos. Yeah. Because, I mean, when you really look at it, like, Street Profits are languishing. What are the Street Profits doing right now? Like, they have nothing. They have had nothing since the breakup storyline that didn't happen. Bringing Los Lotharios on to have that match. Like, we haven't seen Los Lotharios on TV in forever. I know that Otis and
Chad Gable, yeah.
What do? They just are basically like a joke at this point. Like, they don't have anything. Like, I feel like the tag division is just at a standstill because they have both belts on the Usos. And that's not to say that they can't end up doing something good with that, but they aren't doing any feuds in the tag division. There's no storylines in the tag division at all. So everybody is just kind of waiting until you figure out what you want to do with the Usos or who's going to be the guy to dethrone them. And so I feel like that's kind of hurt the entire division.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, and like I said, I don't want to down on like anybody's potential, but I do feel like I agree with what you said, Reg, that as far as Hit Row is concerned, I think, being attached to Swerve was ready for primetime. He was ready. Yeah. And I think had Hit Row been called up as just like his kind of dog and pony show, I think that would have helped just being a part of his act. Yeah. But being on their own, you're starting to see a lot of exposure. And I do think that they probably should be cooking in NXT 2.0. Yeah. Whereas there's some NXT 2.0 actually, I think, as teams probably could benefit from just being on the main roster.
Definitely.
And freshening that up. So,
like, get the homies from that are with Joe Gacy.
Grizzly Young Vets.
Yeah, how are they still in that gimmick? Like, they could be on the main roster right now as the Grizzly Young Vets. Like, they have a couple things like that.
Even when you think about it, when I'm thinking of the guys that it looks like they're developing to beat the Usos, they're not even an established tag team that is on TV. It's probably going to be Sammy and KO. So, again, you've got all of these tag teams just kind of standing around twiddling their thumbs, doing nothing.
Right.
Yeah, it'll probably take a while, but that's the one thing that Hunter still hasn't gotten right is the tag team division. But the issue that he's sitting on right now is the fact that the Usos are on such a strong run. They've got both sets of titles right now. And
it's just the same exact issue as Roman. Like, he put the Usos in the same exact predicament. So,
and I actually feel like the Usos are in a worse predicament because nobody feels like a believable threat to them because you don't showcase tag team wrestling. And so because there's no way to build up the other tag teams, like, nobody feels like a believable threat to them. There's no story around them. Like I said, the best story that's developing are built around two single guys possibly getting together.
Yeah. That all of that said, one thing I do have to commend. I guess we'll throw out a Will Washington, rest in peace, bozo, to the brand split, because I'll say this. I am absolutely just enjoying the fact that people just show up on Raw or SmackDown. I don't care about any of what brand anybody's fucking on.
It's all WWE, dude.
It's all WWE. I don't care. Like, I don't want Raw exclusive superstars. It's actually great that, hey, Braun Strowman gets to wrestle on both shows here, and Drew McIntyre is facing Austin Theory,
the main event last night of SmackDown with KO and Johnny Gargano being there and the Shoosh homies. Like, yeah, just mix it up. Throw everybody everywhere. It's like, just make it an entertaining show. I don't care who puts it together, who does the job. Just, like, do it.
Like, I don't want a brand split. I think that, now granted, not having a brand split requires kind of acknowledging AEW's existence in a sense. But again, who fucking cares? Just do it. And the reason I say that is because the brand split only existed as a supplement to the fact that WCW was gone. And so that's what I mean by that.
Competition within themselves. They have to admit that they have competition out of themselves.
Right.
The only thing that I will say to that is you may not want a brand split. It may seem like it's over in certain ways, but they're still carrying on like the brand split exists with the way that they do stuff with Ronda, for example. Ronda is very much a SmackDown superstar.
The women's division is the only thing that has it still. But everything else, people are just jumping across brands.
Yeah, it just seems like they are very clearly grooming Ronda again to be the face of the women's SmackDown division. And it just is not... It's weird because, like I said, all of this Liv stuff, it just feels like Liv is a placeholder right now for them to get Ronda ready to take the title back.
It's crazy. I didn't think they would use Liz for that, which is hilarious.
Like and I just thought about something, too. It really is just the SmackDown women's division. Because now I'm thinking about last night's SmackDown. Bayley had a match, and then after the match was over, Bianca ran down to help. Like, honestly, it really just is
the SmackDown.
I don't even know if it's the whole division. I think it's mostly that Fox wants Ronda. Fox is like, we want Ronda to be exclusive to SmackDown.
Yeah, and so, I don't know. The only titles that are still split are the Raw and SmackDown women's titles. Everything else is one title across the brands. Like I said, you just have people showing up, just doing whatever. That's fine. Like, just do that. Just fucking do that. Just give us matches wherever you can give us matches and just do it. Like, it doesn't matter. Because again, the brand split was really originally going to be, history lesson for folks, was originally supposed to be WCW and WWF. That there was the storyline explanation was supposed to be on, I think it was the July 7th, 2001 episode of Raw. They had divorce proceedings that were supposed to go through between Vince and Linda. And after Linda did the I want a divorce. And and then after she told Vince that he wants a divorce, and then she was going to take half the company and give it to Shane. And then Shane was that's where the brand split was going to officially begin. And there was going to be WCW, WWF. And then
did that end up being the ECW episode? Was that the July 7th episode, or was it?
I think that was that one. Yeah. Because what ended up happening.
That's one of my favorite Raws ever until the end.
Because what ended up happening instead was they ran that episode of Raw where they did the Buff Bagwell versus Booker T match in the main event in Washington, D.C., I think it was. And
everybody shit on it.
Even though everybody knew everybody said, look, literally the following week's Raw was in Atlanta, home of WCW. Had you done it there, the fans would have taken to it. But you did it the week before. But anyway, they did that show. And immediately we're like, okay, WCW is not going to work as its own brand. Scrap all of this. And following week, we're just like, let's forget we were ever planning a Vince and Linda divorce storyline. Let's forget that she ever asked for the divorce on screen. Let's forget that Vince McMahon's even a heel because we're going to turn him babyface and turn all of WWF babyface and turn Shane heel and turn all of WCW heel because it can't work on its own. It's not going to work on its own. And they like immediately backed off of it and waited another year to do it. And in another year, it ended up becoming just the Raw and SmackDown split. But the funny thing was the brand they were going to give up from WWF at the time was Raw. SmackDown was going to retain the WWF branding, and Raw was going to become WCW's programming. And just the fact that they were going all in. Remember, they were advertising WCW house shows, and there's an old commercial out there of like, come see your favorite WCW stars as WCW is back at a house show, and then that ended up getting canceled.
Yeah, can't see how that might have been a bad idea.
Very bad.
So yeah, it was like either way, the whole purpose behind the brand split was originally to fill a void left in the industry by the fact that there were no longer two major players. And so it's like, well, we'll just be both major players. It was WWE's original intention. And I think that served its purpose for a long time, but the fact is, we do have another major player in place. And for a few years, it's like, let's just ignore them and keep trying to do we're the two major players thing. But at the end of the day, you don't have to.
Yeah.
One major player. Just do it.
I'm still getting worried, man, because I think you've got to come up with a plan for what you're going to do with Roman soon, because we're now heading into January soon, and it doesn't seem like we have any clear direction on what you want to do with either of those titles. And it still seems like he may be going away to do acting or something soon. So you got to come up with a plan.
They still have to figure that out. Somebody in the chat says WWF should have had Raw and WCW should have had SmackDown slot change to Nitro. Here's the thing. The reason that was the case was because Raw and SmackDown were both at the time. Raw was on TNN. SmackDown was on UPN. Both networks were owned by Viacom. And so at that point, you had one company overseeing both. So they weren't necessarily concerned about losing either. And really what it was WCW had more of a cable presence. WCW didn't have a network television presence. And so the thought was the WCW brand was stronger on cable. Let's give Raw to WCW. And then SmackDown had more of a network television presence. SmackDown was doing better in the ratings than Raw at the time. And even though Raw is older than SmackDown, it was only like 6 years older. So at that point, it was like SmackDown was a hot brand. It had The Rock's name associated with it. SmackDown's the one we're going to keep. And then at the end of the day, it was like, we're keeping all of it. So that was really what it was. It was more so about WCW having a cable presence, WWF not having that. Or WWF had a cable presence, but WWF was so strong on network TV that it was like, we can't just put WCW on network TV. It's not going to work. Nobody knows it.
Yeah, I still think at this point, like even thinking at the Roman stuff and what they're going to do with the title, I think the worst thing that they're doing right now is being afraid to just give someone a loss. I think that's how we got the Solo Sikoa thing. It's just like, it's just too obvious when they don't want somebody to lose. And when they don't want somebody to lose, they give us all of these dumb booking decisions to just avoid just letting them lose. It's just like, if you don't want this guy to lose, why put both titles on? It just does not make any sense at all. Yeah. It's the same thing with Solo. If you don't want this guy to lose, why put a title on him?
Right.
And so on the other side of things, we had Dynamite. Dynamite, as I mentioned on Day After Dynamite, it was the first episode of Dynamite with 3 big promo segments since December 9th, 2020. And Tony tweeted that out. And hey, gave me props on my wrestling memory.
He did
that. But that was the last time that was the case.
And I hope this is the last time for another 2 years.
So I thought 2 of the promo segments hit, but the third did not. I liked everything with the Jericho stuff. I know it was a big debate here last week, but I thought that Jericho going after the heart and soul of Ring of Honor worked. And at least it worked for me. We do have to talk about the ratings and how it is affecting the ratings and how there are people not interested in Ring of Honor. And the thing is, we saw that from WWE, where when they would kind of infuse NXT stuff that wasn't brought strictly into the main roster, fans were disinterested. They're like, if I wanted to watch NXT, I'd watch NXT. I'm here for Raw. And I do think that there are people not interested in what's happening with Ring of Honor stuff and really want Ring of Honor kept where it's going to be kept. But I thought, as somebody who is interested in it, I liked the opening segment. I liked Daniel Garcia. That was a kind of sink or swim type promo for him because he very well could have sank. And I thought he did great with it. I thought, throwing down the bucket hat when he got it. I thought he was great. I thought he was great with Bryan throwing out the challenge. But the one thing he never did in the whole segment was walk away from the Jericho Appreciation Society. He got angry with them, but he never declared himself a wrestler yet. Right. It hasn't happened.
Yeah. So I still don't like the idea of putting the title on this guy. I still think that it reeks of the same stuff that we had an issue with, like taking the title off of Kofi because this guy's a bigger name. I still don't like it. But I will acknowledge that I think that Jericho is having a fantastic year. I think he's been having great matches. I think his segments have been hitting better than they have been over the past 2 years. And I thought the opening segment was good. I thought I think all of the stuff like him saying that I'm going to be the guy that beats all of your favorite Ring of Honor champions and ruins this brand, destroys everything that you love about it. I think that's great heel stuff. I think all this stuff with him and Garcia is fantastic. I've said since day one, I think everything they're doing with Garcia is some of the best storytelling they're doing. All the Bryan stuff they did is great. The way they paced it and made it seem like a Raw segment, which had to be intentional, like all the way down to, hey, here's this big opening segment. Other wrestler comes down to confront, sets up the match. That is totally WWE's way of opening a show. There's no way that wasn't intentional. All that stuff was great. But I'm now concerned because we sat on this podcast and had that long debate, and it was like, well, this is leading to Bryan. Bryan's challenging in Toronto. I don't think that Bryan's winning that match.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how is Chris Jericho gonna defeat all the people in 2 weeks? I'm gonna beat all the guys.
Yeah, so I was thinking, but the fact that he wants to run through all of them, now my brain started going, ooh, okay. Jericho's already been cooking. Who else could he cook with? And I pulled up the whole list of former Ring of Honor champions, and I'm like, hey, when's Cole ready? Because I would like to see that. Wait,
Cole would be good. Jay Lethal, Samoa Joe,
Kyle O'Reilly.
Kyle O'Reilly's
gonna be out for a while. Yeah, he's gonna be out for a while. Not CM Punk.
Not gonna be any cult of personality for a while.
Not CM Punk.
So I don't know, but it does. I don't know.
It's actually kind of a shame that we don't get to see Jericho Gresham, because that is one that would fit here, that works.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff they can do with him against Ring of Honor. I do think that they're doing the Bryan match too soon. A part of me thinks this is going to be a shenanigans finish, and they're just going to run a rematch at a Ring of Honor show.
And that pisses me off. Just save the fucking match. Why do we have to have this stupid match that you're going to do? I hate when, well, this match is going to lead to that. We're having the match now. Do the shit now. Why are we leading to another match?
Yeah, so I have a question, by the way. If it were, like I said, I'm looking at the Ring of Honor champions. So, like,
fair.
If they did PCO versus Jericho, is that like the oldest match that would ever take place on Dynamite? I think it would be.
Yeah. But no, this does bring up the
combined. They're over. That's 106 years. 106 years. So
PCO. Taven's going to show up and challenge. But that does raise the question: like, is the end game here Bryan? Because if he just beats Bryan next week, even if it's not shenanigans and he just beats him clean, all right, then is the end game Garcia?
Oh, that would actually be cool too.
Because
I mean, I could see Ring of Honor. I could specifically see Tony wanting to remerge the Pure title and the World.
Why? Again, why are you getting rid of
I don't know
that Gresham has done? I just don't understand that. I don't want to get annoyed by it again. It just doesn't make sense to me. But like I said, I don't want to jump. I don't want to jump ahead, because I do think what Jericho is currently doing is good, and I do think two things can be true. It's possible that I don't like the way that they put the title on him, but it could end up leading to something that I enjoy. And so, yeah, the opening segment here was good, but I still have concerns.
Yeah. I thought the other segment that was good was I thought Wheeler Yuta was good. I talked about this on Day After Dynamite. I thought that he showed fire, and I thought that my stance on talkers is that I just need to believe them. That obviously there's degrees to talkers. You've got MJF. He's a 10 out of 10 talker. Cody's like a 9 out of 10, right? Like these are guys that I'm going to get some great promos out of. I know that. Sometimes I don't need just a great promo guy. I just need somebody I believe. And yes. I believed Wheeler here. I believed him as somebody who doesn't like MJF, who finds him annoying, who is, I don't know. I just liked everything about him here this week. And, he's like, look, I know what you're going to say. You're going to tell me boring, paint dry, blah, blah, blah. You're going to mention local sports team, all this other shit.
He hit him with the B-Rabbit.
Like, I loved all of that stuff, right? And so I thought, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the thing that I took away from this segment is two things. I saw people that were like, oh, his voice cracked, and oh, he looks like he's trying too hard. The only way that people are going to develop is if you put them on TV, you let them stumble through a promo and get better. Yuta's never going to get better unless you put him against guys like MJF and allow him to get the audience on his side. Otherwise, that stigma of him not being able to talk is going to hang with him throughout his time with AEW.
My least favorite stigma that people still get hung up. I hate that we're even having this conversation.
I know, like I said, and that's why I feel like, look, you don't have to be able to. You just have to be believable. That's it. I just want to believe that you're saying, because that really is what it comes down to, is that sometimes people can't talk. That's okay. As long as you come off like you believe what you're saying, don't matter. Right. To me, anyway. I know that there are people who are like, no, if you're not The Rock, then you should be on the microphone.
Yeah, it's like, okay, three people in the fucking world should be on the microphone.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say again, and he ate MJF. Yeah. But the other thing is, even though I've made all these jokes, MJF is really good. And
MJF is incredible on the fucking mic.
The reason why I say that is I think the things that he does as a heel, people miss the intricacies that he does as a heel, because it's not just that he goes out there and runs somebody down and never gives them a chance to recover. I think that he gave Yuta the spots to shine in this, and he never came back and stepped on any of his moments. That's what you're supposed to do as a heel. And I think this all goes into the women's segment of why, when you look at certain things that worked in other segments, it makes you not appreciate other things, because again, I do think you have to put people out there and let them stumble. And I think that the only way the women are going to get better in in-ring segments is by allowing them to go out there and stumble through a rough segment like that. But at the same time, one of my issues that I've had with Britt for a while is, as a heel, she hasn't picked up how to allow the other person to shine. It's only run down, and then you get to the end of the segment, and she looks like the one that came out on top, and the other person never gets a chance to recover.
Let's talk about this segment, because this was the one that's the most controversial. The women's segment was big stinky. This
great way to describe it.
Yeah, I didn't like this.
What was the point of this?
So I'm going to start with the positives that I think of this. I think that they treated Saraya like a big deal. They did what they needed to do. They did everything I wanted them to do, in a sense that they gave her plenty of time to talk to the crowd. I think that it is a mistake to have her address the crowd in that way if you're not ready to tell them if she's ready to wrestle.
Agreed.
And I think that is the hard part you're going to have until you're ready to talk about that. You can't just leave that as the open ending thing, because that's what everybody wants to know. I think she did well for the first part of that promo until it became clear that it was a different audience, and you could see the separation of when it became clear it was a different audience. And I don't think she ever quite recovered after that, because it was like the WWE crowd will feed you back in certain ways that the AEW crowd won't. And I think the crowd was into it for most of the way, but you could tell she kind of is used to having a script. And that's not to say that she needs it, but this is also somebody that has not been on TV for over a year. And it showed. And the way that they tried to build this segment, the same way that they've done women's segments on WWE of, hey, here's a woman cutting a promo. Hey, bring all the other women down. Hey, I'm going to set up the match as the plot device for that. It did not work here. It's everything that I don't like about women's segments from WWE. But on a positive note, I do think that it's good to allow the women, again, to come out and have moments like this and give them time to see where you can go from there. Because if you don't give them those moments, they don't develop. So I don't think it was all bad, but boy, was this rough to watch. It was a very uncomfortable moment. Again, I think the stuff at the end with Britt and her giving the "what rhymes with Britt" line,
awful.
That doesn't happen if you structure this segment better. This is one of the few times I felt like this segment needed a writer, because it just seemed like it was just a bunch of stuff happening that did not seem to connect together. It was just a bunch of separate things happening all at the same time.
Does the women, do they need an on-screen leader per se? Because I feel like we just got the same exact thing with Madison Rayne. They put out an email and they were like, Madison Rayne is here to do the thing. And I feel like Paige did exactly the same. Saraya did the same exact thing that they did again. So it's like, oh, we have another leader, but do the women's division need an authority figure over them? Is that what's needed to take them to the next step?
I am going to disagree with you, Zero. I see that in there. Sorry, Zeno Hour. And he says that the segment was messy, but Britt saved it. I do not think Britt saved the segment. I think that Britt did what she always did. She made herself look great, but I don't think she made anybody else in the segment look good. I think that the Jamie Hayter chant happening during Britt's segment felt very tone deaf to me. It said everything that she was still doing the usual shtick, and they didn't even address anything that's been happening with Jamie Hayter for weeks. I think that was a mistake.
Again, I still don't feel like the time is right for Jamie.
I'm not saying that she has to completely turn on her, but to not address the chance at all, that doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, I will give the AEW Women's Division 2 big pieces of credit this week. I thought Serena and Toni Storm went out there and cooked afterward.
Awesome. That was a great match.
Great match.
I was just unfortunate that the segment was distracting, and then having the lumberjacks out there was also distracting because you didn't have enough lumberjacks to fit in the ring space. So
oddly enough, though, the lumberjacks also were there to really set up what they were doing for Rampage, which was to set up Willow and
that shit. Ooh, they cook Willow.
And Jamie Hayter.
Yeah,
great. Very good.
Another great match. Yeah, 2 great women's matches coming off of what was built in that segment. So I mean, it's just like we haven't gotten any great women's segments that we can really think about that's due with promo. Like every time that Thunder Rosa came out, they buried her. Like they have to figure something out. Maybe Phil's right. Maybe they need a writer for just those segments, because just letting them have free will has been not.
And it's nothing wrong with giving them control over their promos and stuff.
Definitely.
But I think certain things like this segment looked like it wasn't planned very well, and I think you have to give them structure to work in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, this is what we end up with, because again, that lull in between, because again, when Saraya first came out and she cut her promo, all that stuff was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But that lull in between her getting uncomfortable and going, bring out the women, come out, women. It's like, all of the parts where she tried to recover, it just did not work, and you could see all of the parts where it seemed like they were missing cues. It wasn't good. But yeah, the match afterwards was very good, and I think it is a positive that we're moving the women out of the death spot and you're giving them a better spot on the card. It is a little bit comforting that they're trying to do something different, but this did not work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've also seen people say it's probably not a good idea to have a babyface come in right away and say, hey, this is what's wrong with your women division.
I hate it.
Hey, at least the women are getting 5 minutes. That isn't a problem if we know what the direction is with Saraya. If we know she plans to wrestle, then it's easier to get behind that. But if it's just like she's just in the ring saying these things and it's like, okay, well, where are we going with this? Where's the end goal? It's hard to get behind.
And she didn't really give us any definitive answer on that, because she came out and she said, I'm damaged but not broken. And that says to me that what I picked up from that is I can wrestle eventually, but not right now.
Yeah, just not cleared right at this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I still think that Saraya got over pretty well. I still think her star power is very evident. Like the fact that she already came in with signs and so much fanfare is good, but it's
a little bit of an uphill battle.
They've got to figure out a better way to capitalize on it if they don't know if she's cleared yet.
Right. Well, let's wrap up with some viewer content.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to start with Super Saiyan to Anwar, who says, happy anniversary. It has been fun to listen to y'all talk about numerous things. Who do you think are the most underrated and overrated wrestlers this year?
Roman is over, definitely.
Overrated?
Yeah, duh.
I mean, I can agree with that.
Yeah,
Just
duh.
I said that
Roman stands. Righteous Reginald said that.
I said it. Roman is overrated.
I'll say that just because of the fact, like I can agree with that, really, in the sense that I think Roman has been doing his best mic work ever. I haven't really. I feel one match this year that he's had is worth like writing home about, and the rest have been like okay. He's only had 8 matches this year, and so that's where I'll kind of throw him in a little bit of the over.
What's the
but
one
that's not to say I don't
match
enjoy
you
it.
would say? Is it the Brock match?
I was gonna say Seth, but
Oh, you slowly blinked is so funny. The Seth match, yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say the Seth match. Brock was fine. That was more of a spectacle than anything else.
I thought the 6-man was very good, but that's technically not a Roman match.
You almost forget that happened too. But as far as underrated is concerned, I don't know because he's starting to get his due now. Like I could say Sami Zayn, but now we're starting to see it from a lot of and kind of a lot of.
Now everybody's saying he's the best.
Yeah.
I would say underrated. I don't think that people give Hangman's title reign the credit it deserved. I thought he was a great champion, and I think he put on some banger matches, and I think that has somehow gotten forgotten.
That's a good answer.
I mean, it's not somehow. We know how.
Well, I think even before that, I think people were so ready to take the title off of him at several points. Like, we'll put it on Bryan. We'll put it here. It's like they didn't even really. Some fans didn't give him enough of a chance, and I think that he was better than people give him credit for. So I would say Hangman as underrated. Overrated. It's so hard to answer this and not make it seem like I'm being shady to anybody. Overrated. I'm gonna go with Brock because I just don't feel like he still needs to be champion in this year, and I feel like putting the title on Brock caused.
I forgot he was champion this year. A lot has happened this year. He had 2 reigns this year. That's right. He was WWE champion.
Day one
twice
was this year.
Yeah. I would say Brock. I don't think that Brock should have beat Big E at day 1, and it caused more problems than it solved. I wasn't the biggest fan of Brock versus Roman at SummerSlam. I thought that match was fairly overrated. So I'm going to go with Brock.
I think this is going to sound crazy, super duper unreal, sounding crazy saying that underrated, but Bianca Belair, dude, the things that Bianca Belair, she should be the face of the fucking company. The thing that she has done these last weeks, these last months, just kind of under.
Oh my God.
Brock won the Royal Rumble.
Brock won the Royal Rumble. Yeah, Brock won the Royal
and then
Rumble.
became WWE champion right after.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But I think, of course, they give her due diligence, but I think she needs to be the face of the company. How she carries herself, how she's improved in the ring, man. Like Will was saying about that match, like she is on point, and there's some matches she's even better than she is. So it's like, I don't think she gets enough, even though she gets a lot. It's like, I don't even think y'all know what y'all got. You know, it's crazy.
I love Bianca. And she was one of those ones that the first time I ever saw her, I was just like,
yeah,
there's something there. Yeah, you can see it. Let's see. Was it Black Phoenix brand, was it?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. It says, happy anniversary, fellas. This has easily become my favorite podcast out there, and I look forward to many more years of Grapsody content. And cheap plug, when I get this Black Phoenix podcast up and running, I hope to have y'all guys on some time. #Grapsody. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Rhonda is a good answer as well for overrated. Rhonda has not done anything that interesting since she's been back, in my opinion.
They've been better with her the last few
years. I was
gonna
say after Liz lost, she's been she's been kind of, I don't know. It hasn't been
Hunter's better at booking her for sure.
Yes, but yeah. I still think it's been an uphill battle most of the year.
Yeah,
it has.
Let's see. We've got Matthew Plus says, can you explain the wrestling term The Office or Iggy? Bobby Fish used it when trying to explain his kick out on Punk. Said Punk did that before the 3 count. Sidebar, you guys are great. Love to Phil and Reg. Keep educating white people like me.
I don't know. I don't.
I'm not a wrestler. I can't. We can't say terms. We'll get beat up.
No. Apparently MJF doesn't like it when people use insider
Yeah, we
terms
can't.
either.
No,
so
we can't.
I don't want any more smoke with MJF.
Ask a wrestler because they don't like
which
that.
is hilarious. We said I don't want any smoke, and I spent the first few minutes of our podcast
And you shoot a lot
going in on him.
You went in on MJF.
He was shooting all at the beginning of the podcast. You know what? I actually don't want any smoking.
Yo, I still think the guy will be champion by the end of the year. That's still my prediction.
Max is just waiting for his championship, man. He's waiting for it.
And let's see, we got one
you still
from
suck, MJF.
Tony says, "Happy anniversary, my peoples! Can't wait for another year of Black excellence. For the Sammy KO Bloodline story, I think KO should try one more time to convince Sammy, but I'm trying to get the rest of it. But he should pull out all the receipts of what KO has done to him as a friend."
I mean.
Yeah, I think that would be great because he has been a horrible friend.
Show KO that he has been a bad friend and tells him to leave him alone. So when the bloodline turns on him, it will be more special when KO does come out for the save and helps confront Sammy post beatdown. Yeah, I think that's exactly where they might be going.
It's a great story.
He says, and since today is a celebration of Black excellence, let's talk about Ricky. I know I speak for everyone when I say fans deserve a Starks versus MJF story in the near future. The promos would be chef's kiss.
Yeah, I can see that coming by the time MJF is champion within the next year or so. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to think that Sammy is going to turn on them, and they're not going to turn on him. And I started to get those first hints this week. I could very much see Sammy turning on them and Jay turning around and going, "I was right. I told y'all all along that we cannot trust this dude."
Mm-hmm. I can see that too.
Kells asked, he says, with ticket sales being down and buzz not being what it was last year, have you heard of TK doing anything to spice up AEW? Is this a result of AEW being up? When the Elite were the focus of the show, they weren't having these problems, just saying. As far as ticket sales being down are concerned, the one thing that I think is important to look at is that, yeah, in a lot of these markets, they are absolutely down in places where they've been better before. The side to look at is that the first-time markets are still doing really well. Mm-hmm. Seattle, for example, they just sold like crazy for Seattle, and Toronto is sold out. And I think they have done a bang-up job exhausting these markets. That the fact that they're even advertising our only show of this year at this place, and it's a place that they've already been multiple times this year, I think is concerning. I think hitting certain venues 3 times in a single year isn't great. Philly, for example, this past week, that was the 3rd time in the span of a year that they had hit that exact arena. Same with they're hitting the Agganis Arena in Boston soon. I believe that's because they were also in Lowell, Massachusetts for Ring of Honor, and they were also in Worcester, Massachusetts as well.
And they're really close to WWE too. Like sometimes they'll have WWE have a show, and then 2 weeks later it's an AEW show in the same area or same venue, and that plays a big role too. Like wrestling fans ain't got all the money in the world to be buying all the tickets.
I think honestly though they're exhausting these towns. I think there is a factor of the buzz being down from the last couple of years, but I think the biggest factor is you gotta give these people a chance to miss the show, because I know you don't agree, Phil, because Chicago's eating just fine.
Tired of y'all.
I will be eating just fine the day before Thanksgiving, guys.
Yeah, and so that plays, I think, a really big part in it though is exhausting the markets. They've got these live rampages coming up. As a matter of fact, Rampage is pretty much live until Thanksgiving. That they're going to be just doing these live rampages, and they're not selling all that well. And a big piece of that is I don't think they've done a good job at all of telling people that Rampage is going to be different starting this Friday.
Yeah.
That the average person, I don't even think, knows that there's any difference between what's happening with this Friday's Rampage and last Friday. Mm-hmm. But for the next while, they're going to be live, and they're advertising all the big talent there. And so they've got to do something to illustrate to people Rampage is different.
It's
starting
important
now. Yeah. That that we're hitting these shows and they are going to be live. But yeah, it is. I think it's just exhausting the markets, and I think they got to hit some of the first-time markets. They got to hit some of those markets that they haven't hit in a long time. They got to give some guys back their canceled shows. New Mexico, they still haven't given Albuquerque their show back after that got canceled due to the pandemic.
Yeah,
give them a show. Hey, Denver, you haven't been here since March of 2020.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm making jokes about the Chicago thing, but I also think that there's stuff that they had planned with Punk that probably got hurt without them being able to. Because, I mean, I'm of the belief that MJF will probably be champion by the time they come back to Chicago. And are you kidding me? Him possibly trolling and coming out to cult of personality and being a jerk in Chicago? It's going to be great.
That's the time to do it. Everybody was like, hey, it should be MJF when at the first dance. No, the time to play cult of personality and have MJF come out, this is the one.
It's now.
Yeah. And him coming out possibly with the title. So them coming back to Chicago this year makes sense story-wise. It would have made more sense if they still had Punk at the moment, but I think the payoff with Max is going to be worth it.
Running really short on time, so I'm going to answer the next few of these. I gotta have to cut them off at the moment, so I'll do everything that we've gotten, but then I can't really do any new ones. It says, I want answers from all three of you on this. Who do you think will be the first Black AEW champion? Then who do you think will be in the first match to have the world title go from one Black wrestler to another? Choose your champion challenger.
Swerve is first.
I do think that Swerve's got the best trajectory to get there, and he's the one I see at this moment in time. He really does feel like an AEW guy at this stage, and I know that he doesn't have he does have the WWE history with him, but it really does feel like a guy that they're all in on. So,
yeah.
And again, that's not a thing I get from Swerve, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Swerve, and for an opponent, I think once they break up Keith Lee, I think that rivalry is going to go for a while.
Mm-hmm. I would like to see it take place over the TNT title. Even though that story wasn't true, I do want to see Keith and Swerve involve the TNT title. Right. Justin Todd says, Vince retires in shame and Inoki passing. What the fuck is 2022?
It's a crazy
year. I still say Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestled this
He had a match.
Yeah. Chi-Town Spurs says, TBH, I'm not feeling Damage Control's booking at all. Or I guess to steal from Alex Pawlowski, Alex Qatar, it was Damage Qatarl's booking. Yes. Ask Qatarl and Pigup.
Yeah,
I can see that from people.
That the six-woman booking hasn't been great because it hasn't allowed anybody to look like an individual, including Bianca sometimes. But I think Bayley's going to be there for the title. So.
Yeah,
she is. I think so too. Extreme Rules. I think it's going to happen. Although I think they'll chicken shit out and do a DQ. But then again, that's the Vince. I hope not. That's Vince PTSD.
It's a ladder match.
It is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, and that protects Bianca. Yeah, I think that she absolutely works. She wins it there. Shanika says, just sending some love on the big day. Happy anniversary, and here's to more. Thank you, Shanika.
Thank you, Shanika. You're the best.
Appreciate you.
Dream Ninja 77 says, big love to the best wrestling podcast. I'm so happy Candice is back in WWE. Time for her to show just how good of a wrestler she is. I felt really sad about that debut for her because I think they were anticipating more people knowing who she was. And that's one of those cases where in hindsight, probably would have done more of a build-up or something along those lines.
A QR code.
Yeah. I think they should have QR code. I think they should have done some teasers or vignettes for Candice because she's been off TV longer than Johnny, and I don't think that she doesn't have the NXT history that Johnny has.
Yeah,
she didn't have the standing with fans to do it the way they did it, and I felt like the fans didn't give her anything. And
but I agree. Happy to see her back.
Yeah, happy to see her back. Yeah, definitely.
PWG baby.
Public Enemies podcast says, send my buttons in. Pops me. Happy 1 year, guys. Thank you, Public Enemies.
Appreciate you.
And
send my buttons, nigga. That's hella funny.
Let's see. Yozara Hart says, the last thing the women needed was a segment where a babyface on the show said, this division is bad and I'm going to save it. Nobody on Dynamite should, or as a face, should call Dynamite bad. Right. Yeah, I agree. I thought that you really, like, the thing people have been asking for from the division is not necessarily anything to change in what the division does. We just want to see more of it. That's it. The wrestling.
I kind of disagree.
Well, like, in a sense that, like, the wrestling is good. I think people like the women themselves. I think the thing people are complaining about is we don't see enough matches from them and we don't see enough segments from them. But I don't think it was necessarily a case where it's like this whole thing needs a revolution, right? Like, I think that was a very 2015 thing with the Divas where, okay, this thing is treated the way it's treated and the women aren't respected and this has to go. Like, we just wanted more. And oddly enough, by doing this segment and giving the women a whole 30-minute block, you kind of did that. Do that more with better segments.
I agree with what you're saying, but the thing I specifically disagree with is that you don't need a baby face to say it. I would agree with that if it wasn't such a persistent criticism of AEW. If this was just something a few people felt about the women's division, maybe, but it's loud enough that that's very much a babyface thing to do at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I can agree with that, but it didn't necessarily get, like, the pops that they wanted. So
no. She got booed when she said Tony was the best champion, which, oof.
Yeah. It's really hard. AEW fans, and I think this is a thing, Saraya, if you're listening, anybody listening, there's one thing I know, it's AEW fans. AEW fans are very much attached to homegrown talent. Mm-hmm. If you tell them that anybody that they didn't necessarily pick is better than the people that they did, you will be in trouble with those fans. It's not going to work.
Mm-hmm. And they feel like you're saying WWE, I'm better than them because I was in WWE. That's what people don't like that.
And people don't want to hear that. Yeah. It's not that they hate people who are in WWE, but again, Swerve and Keith, great team. Mm-hmm. But the Acclaimed, those are our guys. Yep. We got them there. That's it. Mm-hmm. So therefore, if you give us a choice between these two, it's the Acclaimed every day.
Right.
Yeah. Another good example of where that blew up was Ruby and
Britt
Statlander.
Statlander, yeah, Ruby and Statlander. That's the one. Yeah, they picked Statlander. Yep, and that's a case of look, AEW fans want their homies, and that's it. They want the people that are homegrown that they feel the closest to. Last one. Board Dude 630 says, shout out to Will for remembering Albuquerque. I bought tickets for my family and still have yet to get a sniff of AEW. That's what I mean.
Albuquerque.
Let's start hitting that city up. You guys owe them. It's been over 2 years since
nobody owes Albuquerque anything.
No, but what I mean is like the show was booked. The show was booked. It was advertised that people bought tickets, and like every other show got rescheduled, got back on the map. You've been to other places multiple times. Pretty sure since then they've hit Chicago like 6 times, and you have not. No. I did a count yesterday, didn't I? Sorry, they hit them 7 times since they've been back on the road, and you have not given Albuquerque anything. Give Albuquerque a show, damn it. All right, folks. Thank you for being a part of this 1-year anniversary of Grapsody. This means so much to me. It meant so much to have you guys here. Sorry that my quality is probably in the toilet right now, but I'm still Will Washington. Thank you, Phil Lindsey. Thank you, Righteous Reg. Thank you, Fightful. Thank you for a great year. We've got plenty more ahead of us, but in the meantime, we'll see you next time, and have a great day. Peace.